certain amount of time. So for now, the Justice Department will run D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Force. Well, D.C.'s Attorney General, he's disputing all of this by saying the administration's actions are unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful. There is no crime emergency in the District of Columbia. Violent crime in D.C. reached historic 30-year lows last year and is down another 26% so far this year.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser calling it unsettling. An explosion today at a U.S. steel plant in Pennsylvania. Rescue crews searching the rubble near Pittsburgh. Fox's Nate Foy.
We are being told by county officials that there's possible entrapment, so they are searching through the rubble and trying to find anybody who remains after this explosion that happened at the U.S. Steel Clairton Coke Works factory just before 11 a.m. This is the largest coke manufacturing facility in the United States, and county officials said about the status of the injured, quote, "The status of those individuals is not known at this time. Emergency services is coordinating with all local agencies. The Allegheny County Health Department warning those who live within 1 mile of the factory to stay indoors, close all windows and doors, and also set your HVAC system to recirculate."
At least one person dead. America's listening to Fox News.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You want to see basketball played the way it's supposed to be? Tune in to Ice Cube's Big Three this summer. Watch stars like Dwight Howard, Kemba Walker, Joe Johnson, Michael Beasley, and many more, along with Hall of Fame coaches. Experience the fast pace and physical play and fun action that defines the game. You know what it is. It's the Big Three. Catch the best professional 3-on-3 players in the world live every weekend on CBS and Vice. Oh, yay, yay!
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
No real change in our weather pattern. There's a front just hanging and waving around, and that keeps us kind of typical summer. Partly sunny. It's kind of hot and humid. A couple of thunderstorms around, some with downpours and lightning. 93 for the high. Tonight, partly cloudy, a few thunderstorms here and there. It's warm and humid, 74. Tuesday, partly sunny, humid, some scattered storms, 91. Do that again on Wednesday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, on I think it's kind of a hot and sticky Monday, isn't it? It wasn't the worst weekend yesterday, a lot of rain, and we're kind of back to summer just a little bit. I don't know if this qualifies today. Fred, you got to tell me, does this qualify for today or not?
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
Let's ask Sue. She just walked in from outside.
Maybe not that bad, but it's still kind of sticky. You know, I thought last week was wonderful for summer in St. Louis. Sue, can you report back to whether it's so damn hot or if it's just summer?
It's yes.
Yeah.
I don't have my headphones on, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that the Anchorman clip played. Yes. Is that what we played?
Yes, congratulations.
Educated
Ethan.
guess. Okay,
that's a very
right.
good educated guess. Let me check. This is my favorite thing to do. And I think I had to add it to my weather app too.
Dew point?
The dew point. Yeah. We're sitting at 69 for the dew point. That's not that bad. That's not that uncomfortable. Sue, I have a gift for you this afternoon as we get started.
I love a gift.
Here,
it's
your
my own
it's your own pen. It's Calphalon.
That's a letdown.
Well,
she got really excited.
Sorry about that. I should have wrapped it. Maybe that would have made it better. Well, the reason is because Sue, in her kindness, she gifted not only me, but the show. Actually, quite candidly, by the time I took some, there was none left. But there were some scrapings at the bottom of this Calphalon pan where you made a peach cobbler for us, right? I can't say for me because, again, it wasn't really, I didn't get a lot of it, but it was for us. And I was trying to, Ethan, you kind of witnessed this on Friday. I was trying to take a fork and just take
a plastic spoon.
Yeah, it was a spoon, right? Just to take a certain amount of the cobbler out to take it home. And then I'm like, well, screw that. I'm just going to take the pan home.
Yeah.
And I texted Sue on Saturday night. Thankfully, by the way, we got out of the building because by the time Sue and I both took the corner, Fred, did you experience that? There was like 8 cars deep to try to get out of the building the other day.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody, I don't know what happened, but it's always a situation where whenever that happens, the guy that comes around the corner to kind of solve it, he's never in a big hurry.
No,
He's
he isn't.
He's chatting it up with everyone.
And it's
he's like,
Friday. We're done.
But I had texted you on Friday night and I was complimenting the cobbler.
Yes.
And I don't know what makes a cobbler outside of a peach pie. But what I said was, I think I might favor the cobbler. It was really, really good. Now, what I did is I just had to dig in there with the fork and scrape it off the sides and then soak it the entire weekend in order to get the damn pan clean.
That's 100%
I literally probably scraped it 3 or 4 times with Dawn, as it soaked. And then I finally put it in the dishwasher and I could return it to you clean. So I almost didn't give it back to you because
I understand.
It was not in the proper condition, if you will. How was your weekend though? Everybody have a good weekend?
It was good.
Yeah.
Busy. Good.
What happened? Did something happen? Oh, it was the Moonlight Ramble through my neighborhood, the bike ride. So they were closing down roads at 10 o'clock at night. I thought, what the? And then I saw Steve Butts post the next day that he was in it.
Oh, I'd never done that. Have you ever done that?
No, because it starts late and I have to get up so early. I think that's going to screw me up.
That's not the one where you're naked, is it?
No, that's the other one. The naked bike
Steve
ride.
Butts was in that?
Yeah,
not in the naked one.
We can create some rumors there.
He'll kill me. He'll kill me.
So we have a lot of stuff coming up today on the show. Trump has decided to federalize Washington, D.C. in an effort to get a hold of crime. We're going to cover that. We have Josh Hammer, who, of course, is the host of the Josh Hammer Show coming up. Dick Schroer is going to attempt to explain how Missouri is going to do the same thing Texas is trying to do with redrawing the congressional map. I had an extensive conversation with Nick last week about this, and I still don't get it. So we're going to see what he has to say, and we'll get to that. This is I don't want to get into all the Trump stuff with DC, except for this. And Fred, I thank you for pulling this particular soundbite because it was my favorite. So one of the things, and I can pull this up from Truth Social because I actually screen captured it. So yesterday on Truth Social, Trump goes out there and he says, we're going to have this press conference on crime and beautification. All right, he put that in quotes. Will be held tomorrow at 10 a.m. That was this morning. It will not only involve ending crime, murder, and death in our nation's capital, but will be about cleanliness and general physical renovation and the condition of our once beautiful and well-maintained capital. I kind of like that because you've been to DC more recently than I have, so I can't really speak directly to the issue of the cleanliness, but there's a lot of graffiti, there's a lot of homeless people, there's a lot of crime. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like St. Louis is a bit of a microcosm of this, and there was reaction from the mayor, Muriel Bowser, saying, okay, well, crime did spike and now it's back down. That's all this other stuff. But I do like the fact that, he's talking about spending some money on beautification and aesthetics because we should be proud of the nation's capital. So, when he went out there with that moment with Jay Powell with the construction hats from last week, or maybe that was a couple of weeks ago. It was like Jay Powell's Michael Dukakis moment, if you will. They're talking about all this money, $3.1 billion on fixing up the building like the Federal Reserve. And, Trump's point at the time and then in the post yesterday, he said that could be done in a far more elegant and time-sensitive manner for a lot less money. So he's kind of talking about, spending money here, spending money there, trying to improve the aesthetics. Now, this came up. This is where my favorite soundbite comes into play.
You're building a big, beautiful ballroom. Yeah. Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room? Technology, more seats.
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable. So no, I don't want to make life comfortable.
I love that for the media people. No, I don't think so. I don't know that room's changed a whole lot over the years, but yeah, why would you want to give them comfy chairs and couches and stuff like that? I don't think that would be something that Trump would do. So I think the money's going to be spent elsewhere. We have, I mentioned Josh is coming up here and he has a show that airs on Saturdays here on 97.1 FM Talk. Have you guys talked about Jennings and the show? Have you kind of broken that news to the audience or not?
No,
I don't think so.
we're leaving it up to you.
So the word, when I was on this little stint that I was away from the show here the last few weeks, word came down that Scott Jennings was getting his of CNN fame and Mark Reardon show fame. Let's just lay it out here. He was here first, and we've had him for a long time before he blew up last summer. But he's doing a 1-hour radio show on the Salem Broadcasting Network. And we have decided to pick up that show starting on the 25th. So it would be 2 weeks from today.
That's
going to air. I was told when it's going to air. I think it's going to air at 8 o'clock after Jimmy Fallon's show. So he'll have in Scott's response to me was, well, that means you need to spend at least an hour on your show promoting my show. I think at least is the number that I would say. But that's kind of cool. And it's very exciting for him as a guy who kind of started with Radio Roots. And I always give credit to Fred, because, look, we lock down some of the greatest guests that are out there on a regular basis. Fred. But Jennings has this, he's got this gravitas now that is really, I would say it's unparalleled with the media, because so many people on the left have hated him. And there was even some stuff from last week. I didn't get to it on Friday where, who was it?
Dean Cain.
Yeah, no, I know Dean Cain was praising Jennings, but there was somebody else that had come out, and damn it, I had this in my show prep for Friday, never got to it. But they were essentially criticizing CNN for putting someone on the air like Jennings. They were specifically talking about Jennings to offer a different perspective on the news of the day. And the person making that case, man, who was it? It wasn't Carville. It was someone else in the punditry world, was saying, well, this is not the time for that, right? We shouldn't be doing things like that because, well, you know what? Democracy's on the line.
Of course.
So it's just silliness. And he has not only an alternative opinion, but he's going to get some great guests. And that show is going to air here on 97.1 FM Talk every weeknight at 8 p.m. And we'll promote the heck out of it. We'll have Scott tomorrow, Fred.
Right.
He's going to be on. This kind of makes me remember there was a letter that I saw last week. Hang on. Oh, yeah. And here's something else. This is so funny. I've never in like 30 years probably picked up the National Enquirer, but our friend Jeannie Sullivan of Pet Supplies Plus fame gets the National Enquirer. And
where have the aliens landed?
No, it's all about Jennings. Like, here's the latest one. Anderson set to fly the coop, and it says Caddy Anderson Cooper has 1 foot out the door at CNN, according to sources who tell the National Enquirer that the egotistical newsman's anticipated exit has staffers fearing an all-out firestorm. Everyone's bracing for Anderson because an almighty stink when he goes. Anderson to cause an almighty stink when he goes. Sources say, and they get into the ratings here, and that he's bitter and he's ready to bail on his home. He's furious and he's fed up. He used to be CNN's golden boy, but these days he feels like a ghost in the building. As the Enquirer reported last year, a spy said the silver-haired hotshot, who pulls in, you know how much he makes a year, by the way?
Okay, all right.
Take a guess.
$10 million.
$18 million. $18 million a year. The story says he had an epic meltdown upon learning he was bypassed as moderator of the debate in favor of Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. He's also, this is the part where it gets interesting, and this wasn't even the letter that I was going to share because Jeannie just kind of reminded me of the National Enquirer. It says, according to the Insider, diehard liberal Cooper is also in a snit over conservative loudmouth Scott Jennings, 47, becoming a ratings magnet for CNN Newsnight. Anderson can't stand it. Scott's allowed to rant and rave while the rest of them are muzzled. It's infuriating for him to see producers building the entire show around Jennings while he's pushed to the side. People tune in to see what outrageous things Scott Jennings will say next, and the execs love it. Anderson is appalled that they're pandering for viewers this way. But they also talk about how his viewership, Anderson Cooper's is way down.
I was going to say, what are his ratings?
They're not very good.
Yeah, I like how they use the word outrageous.
And pandering.
I don't think he says anything outrageous.
It's of course, anything that he says is outrageous. Here's the flip side. The flip side of that is what the other guests say is really outrageous, and he calls them out. But whoever it was I was thinking about was making this strong case that, well, you should not have any opportunity to offer an alternative opinion on CNN because that's not the moment we're in. We're here to protect democracy. Democracy was mentioned a lot today by Mamdani. He's doing this 5 boroughs tour in New York, starting in Manhattan, about all this anti-Trump stuff. It was also mentioned in connection with D.C., and taking over, control of the police department. So we're going to get to all that. We have Josh Hammer coming up first. Nick Schroer, as I mentioned. Paul Mauro will have some thoughts about the New York situation in the next hour. There's this rumor, and I don't know if we can confirm it, but somebody sent me some tweets that, and again, we're vetting this, and Michele Tafoya is going to come up, that there are NFL teams out there that will have men as cheerleaders, including the Minnesota Vikings. So in other words, there will be some teams that have biological males as female cheerleaders.
Oh,
right. Yeah. I don't know. No, it's not like, see what
we
you
have
thought.
Male
right,
cheerleaders. That's the thing.
What you thought was exactly, if you go to the universities like Missouri has male cheerleaders. No, that's not what they're talking about. Now, I will say that we got to vet that a little bit. I'm not completely sure because I want to make sure. There were some things out there. Look, there's a lot of stuff that comes out there, and it's just simply not true. We had my wife's aunt came over for dinner last night, and she goes, I heard The View was canceled. I'm like, I don't think so. Well, but there's this thing. Here's the thing. And I wasn't trying to make her feel bad or anything. But if you go on Facebook or some of the other socials, that stuff gets out there.
Oh,
I remember seeing one that says The View is canceled. Then people start weighing in and saying, well, it's about time. I can't believe. Well, it hasn't been. Okay. So don't believe everything that you see on Facebook. Josh Hammer's coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, there is an accident, and I just posted it on X at Susan6768. It's northbound 170 past Olive, and it's been blocking the 3 right lanes. So traffic is really stacked up behind this. If you are northbound on 170, expect a parking lot jam, and it's starting almost at the Forest Park Parkway. Now, there's also an accident on northbound 55 right at the Poplar Street Bridge, and that's caused a delay behind it. An accident reported on the Illinois side as well on 55-64, headed for the 70 split. We also have road work going on, and that starts at Exchange, so that's caused a delay. Other than that, we actually look pretty good. This report brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We have confirmation from Steve Butts that he was not naked during the
I told you
the ramble the other night. I just wanted to make sure. Again, we're all about confirming facts here this afternoon on the show.
Ready for real weight loss? Infinite Vitality helps you lose 8+ pounds a month with peptides like tirzepatide. Track fat loss with 3D imaging. 2 months for just $400. Mention Annie for a $50 credit. Infinite-Vitality.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
What's the most important thing when it comes to getting your roof replaced? Honesty, because honestly, most of us don't know what it takes to replace a roof. Mark Cox here from my friends at Correll Roofing Company. Curtis Correll is a friend of mine. I've known him for many years. And when he came to my house to look at my roof, he brought back pictures and showed me where the damage was from the hail. He worked with my insurance adjuster. He made sure I understood exactly what they would be replacing on my roof. Are they putting down felt? Are they replacing any wood? What quality of shingle are you getting on your roof? These are all questions most of us don't know to ask, so you need to be able to trust the person who is doing the work for you. You can trust Curtis Correll. He's got crews with over 20 years of experience. He pays attention to detail with quality materials and workmanship. Call him at 314-222-9529. That's 314-222-9529 or Correll Roofing Co. on Facebook.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
Now, this was a little new information last week, but Sue, and I guess I was not included on the gifting. There was a listener who sent some blankets because it's so damn cold in this studio. Do you have your nice pink blanket on this afternoon?
There's one for you, too.
Is that one supposed to be for me, even though it's pink?
Well, there's two,
Okay.
and I assumed one was for you,
Oh, okay.
one was for me.
Maybe I'm being a little bit too focused on the color of the blanket. I'm comfortable with wearing pink when it's 66 degrees in the studio. Hey, Josh Hammer is back with us this afternoon. You hear his show every Saturday, 1 p.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. There's my blanket. Thank you very much. I'm man enough to wear pink when it's this cold. I will tell you that. Josh, how are you this afternoon? Are you man enough to wear pink?
Mark, it's great to talk to my friend. And yes, for the record, I do have some pink in my wardrobe.
See, there you go. There's nothing wrong with that. Sue just kind of draped this over my shoulders. Hey, I got a lot I want to ask you, but I loved your column that you wrote about the 80th anniversary of the decision to drop the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I guess those anniversaries technically took place last week, right? August 6th and 9th. And there's always discussion about the morality of that. But Josh, you made a great case about why that was so important. So congratulations on that. You want to kind of outline that just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. So look, this is inherently not the warmest topic to talk about, right? Because we are talking here about mass casualty events. We're talking here about a lot of people dying, especially in a fairly rapid period here. But the basic defense of President Truman's decision to drop the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were August 6th and August 9th, 1945, respectively, is as follows, which is that the United States had already lost at least 100,000 soldiers, sailors, and Marines in the Pacific theater. Look, Mark, growing up, I think a lot of attention was dedicated to the European theater, and for good reason. I mean, the heroes who stormed the beaches of Normandy and D-Day, the horrors of the Holocaust, the Eastern Front with the Soviets. I mean, there was an incredible amount of horrors and drama and all of that in Europe. But I find that the Pacific theater tends to get under-discussed and underappreciated. And Imperial Japan, look, God bless Japan today. That Japan has emerged as a major deterrent against a hegemonic Chinese Communist Party, and they're a useful American ally today. But back then, in the 1930s, 1940s, Imperial Japan was about as barbaric and genocidal a society as Nazi Germany.
Absolutely.
They were just as bad, if not worse. And we had our young men who were dying on the beaches of Iwo Jima, Okinawa. The Japanese were employing all sorts of just horrific tactics, the kamikaze pilots. And when push came to shove, and we were finally figuring out how can we get this culture that is so steeped in chauvinism and fight to the death and this kamikaze ethos, how can we possibly get them to make like the Nazi Germans a few months prior and surrender to the Allies? There were basically two options. One was what Truman did, which is drop these bombs and try to force a quick surrender. The alternative was referred to by military planners as Operation Downfall. It was a full-scale land invasion of Japan. The casualty estimates would have been utterly catastrophic. You're talking over 1 million casualties for American soldiers, sailors, and Marines, to say nothing of well over 1 million deaths for the Japanese themselves. So for all of the debate over the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we're talking here about roughly 200,000 to 250,000 deaths, somewhere in that range there, it actually was all but assuredly the more humane course of action. And that's also missing the forest for the trees a little bit to the most simple and basic question that I have when I approach an analysis like this, Mark, which is, from an American perspective, I'm sorry, but Pearl Harbor was a thing that happened. I mean, the Japanese started this war, and the president of the United States, as the commander-in-chief, has a responsibility to protect and secure his people and his country there. So I think that the argument against Hiroshima and Nagasaki ultimately falls prey to somewhat of a relativism and a globalism, whereby we're supposed to abstractly pretend that Japanese lives and American lives are all the same, but that's not how it works when you're the commander in chief controlling the nuclear football. So I think it was the right decision.
I'm always curious to be, and I'm going to learn this with my daughter who's 10, getting into 5th grade now and beyond, how this stuff is taught in schools. And one of the things that you pointed out in your column is, a lot of the judgment of that decision, has mostly come from the left. But you cited a quote in which Tucker Carlson claimed that the weapons were created by demonic forces and asserted that the U.S. was evil for dropping those bombs on Japan. So it's not just from one political side of the spectrum. I was unaware of that. I don't know if Tucker's thinking about the whole breadth of history there, which I think you have, Josh.
Yeah, Tucker said this. I'm trying to remember what he said. I think it was last year in 2024. Now, look, I have a lot of criticisms of Tucker Carlson these days. I mean, just today, his latest episode, I saw just yet another viciously anti-Israel, anti-Semitic guest. He seems to be increasingly just deeply obsessed with the question of the Jews and the Jewish state, which I find just horrifying, frankly. So I have a lot of issues with Tucker these days. Now there are some folks, Mark, if we're giving the benefit of the doubt, the folks who have made this argument historically over the years are not always folks who have gone down Tucker's unfortunate rabbit hole. There are a lot of good faith, a lot of Catholic intellectuals who cite Thomas Aquinas' thoughts on just war theory, things like that. I just respectfully disagree. And I disagree because I genuinely do think, as someone who is as staunchly pro-life as anyone, that this actually was, even though it doesn't seem like in the moment, it actually genuinely is the more humane course of action. And again, because I'm an American nationalist, and I firmly do believe that you have to look after American lives more than any other. But yes, it is definitely concerning to see folks on the right who frankly these days sometimes sound a lot more like Noam Chomsky than anything else.
Josh Hammer with us. You were in Israel not too long ago when things were really heating up. You had this announcement that Israel plans to capture Gaza City, and there's been reaction to that. Where are we in all of this right now? Where do you think this has taken us? I know that Bibi sat down for an interview last week. You got Trump and Putin meeting this week. So there's a lot of things happening on the foreign stage. But when it comes to Israel and Gaza in particular, are there plans that are outlined that are realistic to you?
Well, we still need to see some of the details. From my vantage point, Mark, this is the kind of thing that Netanyahu should have announced ideally a year and a half ago. I mean, if you want to be more charitable, then the natural response would be, okay, well, that was President Joe Biden. It wasn't going to fly then. And okay, I understand that to an extent. I still think that after something like October 7th happens, Israel probably should have just put on its tunnel vision and just did what it had to do, no matter who the occupant of the White House of its closest ally was. But at a bare minimum, this thing should have happened in January or February. The basic morality, justice, and correctness of Israel's war, from my vantage point, is fairly straightforward. But they're fighting a losing battle in the PR front, and the longer this goes on, the worse and worse that gets. It becomes something of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if this is finally the time, if this is really actually the moment when Netanyahu and the IDF finally say enough is enough, we actually are going to go in there and just hunt down the remaining Hamas battalions there, then I say Godspeed and go for it. I'm just a little frustrated as a staunch supporter of U.S.'s relations that this hasn't happened already. Trump has basically intimated, he's all but said, Bibi, do this, just do this already there, because Trump understands what I just said, which is that the longer this goes on, the more Israel loses the PR battle. Trump just wants to rip the Band-Aid off and it just get it done with here. So I think it's the right move. It's just more than a little too late, to be honest with you. But Israel has to do it, Mark, for the very simple reason that they said the outset that they were going to eradicate Hamas, and unless and until they do that, they will have lost the war on their own terms.
Josh, I don't know if you heard about this, but last week we had a situation where there was an American who served in the Israeli army in Clayton, which is a suburb of St. Louis, just west of where I'm sitting right now, and 2 cars were burned. They wrote death to the IDF in the middle of the street. It hasn't gotten a ton of coverage. I think Fox did cover it last week. I don't know if you saw it, but man, some of the stuff is hitting, real close to home again, just when you think maybe you're past some of the anti-Semitism. it rears its ugly head. And that one seemed to be pretty organized when you're, burning 2 cars up in front of somebody's house.
So I did see the story. It pains me deeply. Mark, I feel like you and I probably discussed this either on air or off air, but my great great-grandparents, my mother's side, actually immigrated to St. Louis from Lithuania way back in the day. We're talking here around the turn of the 20th century, late 1800s, because apparently back in Lithuania, my great-great-grandfather was told that if you want to find a Jewish minyan, a group of 10 Jewish men to form a group to pray together, then you go to St. Louis, Missouri to find that. So I saw this story and just that's what I thought about. It's just how horrifying this is, and it's just awful. It's just absolutely awful stuff. Unfortunately, this hatred is all around us. Mark, I was in D.C. in May. I was doing a few talks related to my book, Israel and Civilization, and I was giving a keynote talk for a group called the Middle East Forum, the think tank run by Daniel Pipes for the past 30 years or so. And I flew out of D.C. on Tuesday, and it was the day after that, Wednesday, that there was that horrific double murder of the Israeli embassy staffers. And I only learned after the fact that the man who, I'm blanking on his name, unfortunately, but the one who was tragically murdered there that evening was actually in attendance at my talk 2 nights prior, which is just one of those terribly small world things. It's all around us, and it's just awful.
Josh, always great to hook up with you. I hope you're having a good Monday. We'll have you back soon. We'll hear your show on Saturdays at 1 on 97.1 FM Talk. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a couple of accidents that crews are dealing with. One is northbound on 170, and it's just past Olive. They've got the right lanes blocked. Woo, traffic is jammed through there. Now, there's another accident. This one is northbound 55 on your way to the Poplar Street Bridge, and the left lane is blocked there, and traffic, of course, is stacked up behind it. Now, we also have an accident reported on eastbound 5564 near 3rd Street on the Illinois side. That has created a slow go. At 5570 eastbound, also a little slow at Exchange, where we've got road work going on. Now, other than that, it's the usual volume, and southbound 270 just has moderate volume on either side of Olive and on either side of 44. And then things open up. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have all the largest, most beautiful showrooms in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs, located in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Stop your grinding with Brooks Night Guard. Are you waking up in the morning with a sore jaw, headaches, ringing in your ears, all because you're grinding and clenching your teeth at night? That's exactly what was going on with me. I ended up going to a dentist, and he wants to charge over $600 for a night guard. That's when I found the Brooks Night Guard. You mold it at home to the top or bottom teeth. Other mouth guards go all the way to the back, which allows the back teeth to touch. This is where most of the grinding and clenching occurs. The Brooks Night Guard redirects the bite force away from the back teeth, reducing jaw pain while still protecting the teeth. This unique design is what makes Brooks Night Guard different from all other traditional grind guards. Order your Brooks Night Guard today and get 10% off plus free shipping. Go to brooksnightguard.com and enter the code BRUX91. That's BRUX91. Stop your grinding with Brooks Night Guard.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. I am quite aware of the dangers being on the road. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. These families' lives will be changed in an instant. We fight for these families as if they were our own. We've become America's largest injury law firm by winning cases just like these. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
3:35. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
At the end of this week, this current 30-day special session will be gabbled out. And the nanosecond after that happens, I'm going to be calling another special session. And we're going to be making sure that any Democrat who surfaces in the state of Texas in that intervening time is going to be apprehended by the Texas Department of Public Safety and taken to the Texas Capitol and held there to make sure that we are able to meet quorum.
Yeah, that is the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. But we have some things going on relating to the same issue here in Missouri. And I made a call last week. I was mentioning this earlier to State Senator Nick Schroer. He's a friend. He's a regular on the show. He's a regular on the Reardon Roundtable. And he is kind of one of the point people on what Missouri might do here with its congressional map. Even after that long conversation, I was still a little confused. But, I'm easily confused, Nick. How are you this afternoon? Appreciate you coming on.
Hey, I am good. Just getting ready for the girls to go back to school and maybe for us to go back into session like Texas has done.
Yeah. So, I have mixed feelings from this perspective. I understand, and I want you to kind of explain what the goal is here. There is a part of me, just as a regular voter, that says, wait a second, are we redrawing legislative, congressional lines every couple of years? I thought this was only supposed to happen every 10 years with the census. But then you kind of start to look at what these other states have done when they've had the power, like Illinois certainly jumps out at you from the get-go. And then you have I don't know if you saw over the weekend, J.B. Pritzker on Meet the Press.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction.
Okay,
The reality,
he doesn't answer the question, but I wanted to play the question because I give Kristen Welker, the host of Meet the Press, some credit for calling him out in that moment. And you can look at that. What is, I think it's the 13th district in Illinois, and it cuts from all the way from East St. Louis up through, Champaign. It's a very weird district. So the goal has been to make those less competitive for Republicans and conservatives. So having said all that, I want to let you do some talking here. What are you trying to accomplish here? And obviously there's a little history lesson of what happened last year that's involved here as well with the congressional maps.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is what I tried to do back in 2022. This is 2 years after we got the census numbers. So for everybody that's out there saying, well, wait a second, a little time's gone by. You guys are just estimating based upon the census. Well, that's what we did in 2022. We drew these districts up. And when we drew these districts up, I heard from the people on radio, on emails, on phone calls that they wanted us, being right next to Illinois, seeing what states like New York has done, Maryland has done, even California. It's not as bad as Illinois. I think Illinois takes the cake, not just because of J.B. Pritzker and how large he is. I think he gets whatever he wants. But it's just gotten so bad that I think the people are fed up and they're saying, look, if we're not utilizing the same playbook and doing the same exact thing that Democrats are able to do, then it's negligence, so to speak. So I want us to go back to what we tried to do back in 2022 and draw districts that are best going to send individuals with Missouri values, not get a surefire win for the Republicans, not a surefire win for the Democrats, but just make a competitive seat. And that's what ultimately, as of right now, we don't have on the Kansas side. But other than that, if we're going back into a special session, let's get the most bang for the buck. And something that you and I spoke about on the phone the other day, we've been talking about for a very long time, is how easy people like J.B. Pritzker or Michael Bloomberg, who just on Amendment 3 last year put a ton of money into it. Even a billionaire in Switzerland is able to change our Constitution with a couple $1 million. We need to fix our initiative petition process by protecting the integrity of the Constitution while still allowing for the people to have a shot at changing statutory measures.
So that's been my favorite topic over the last couple of years, because when people hear IP reform, they think internet protocol, and I think most of the listeners don't really get what you're trying to do here. So explain a little bit here what initiative petition reform could potentially look like, because there are several different models to kind of fix what might be going wrong in that process. And by the way, I always have to say I've long been a critic. I mean, you go back to the 1980s when I was a critic of this initiative petition process here in Missouri, because it is too easy to change the Constitution.
It's sickening. You got 50 plus one, so 50% plus one. So if you have only 11 people that show up to vote on that day on a very important issue, whether it's tax reform, school choice, you name it, or even abortion on demand, like we saw with Amendment 3, it's just going to take 50% of who shows up plus one. So initiative petition reform, before I got in the legislature, when anybody talked about IP reform, I'm thinking intellectual property reform.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
man, I didn't know we needed to reform it in our state. But initiative petition reform is the ability for groups. Right now, it's these well-funded groups. It's not citizen-led groups. Well-funded groups that are formed out of the state of Missouri can come into our state, stand in front of grocery stores, taco stands, in the public library, and ask you, hey, how do you feel about X? Can you sign a petition to put whatever this is on the ballot? And I had so many people back when Clean Missouri was passed. There was no mention of the redistricting and giving that to the only statewide Democrat at the time. And similarly with Amendment 3, I had several people contacting me saying, hey, I even asked specifically, is this the one on abortion? They said this has nothing to do with abortion. It's just on women's health care and making sure that if they have an ectopic pregnancy, they can get coverage here in the state of Missouri. So, number one, it's easy to lie to the people.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
It's very confusing.
Right.
So we need to protect the Constitution that, as of right now, you and I have been very friendly with legalizing medical marijuana or recreational marijuana, but does it need to be in our Constitution? Does bingo the game need to be in the Constitution? I say no.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, because look, even though I voted for the marijuana thing, I was critical of the way that it was, too lengthy and jumbled up. And again, it gets confusing for the voters. So to try to simplify this a little bit, a lot of this is coming from, maybe not on the IP reform, but certainly on the congressional lines, is coming from the Trump administration. The reality of what's going to happen here in the next few weeks, and don't lose people because they hear special session and extraordinary session, but the governor, Mike Kehoe, is likely to call you guys back into session, right?
I think so. And I think working with the Trump administration, something we didn't have previously, we had a governor, whether you loved him or not, Mike Parson was not very vocal on controversial issues or on any issue, really. And the leadership at the time in the House and the Senate, they were very silent on this. And they didn't want to upset the apple cart like we saw how the Democrats were doing. This is not breaking the rules. This is simply utilizing the rules and utilizing the Constitution like others are boldly doing in other states. So Governor Kehoe has said, yes, we need to secure our congressional representation for the next couple of years until the next census. I am with him on that. I hope he calls a special session to bring us back. But again, that's a congressional issue. As a 10th Amendment guy, we need to protect our state's rights. We need to protect our state constitution as well. And that's why myself and the Freedom Caucus, we're pushing to expand that to deal more so with elections here at the state level and initiative petition reform as well.
But if you get these lines, go through the process of what would happen as far as redrawing the lines. They still have to face the courts, right? There's going to be lawsuits. They have to face constitutional muster. Whenever you rewrite these things, nobody ever knows if they're going to hold, because a judge could come in and say, wait, we can't do it that way.
Yeah, and the United States Supreme Court, after I think it was New York, redrew theirs here recently after a census, and they did it to screw Republicans and get rid of Republican representation going to D.C. from New York. The Supreme Court made it clear that gerrymandering, which all states basically do unless It is banned in your Constitution. Republican states and Democrat states can be accused of gerrymandering, but in order for them to step in on it, they said, well, we can't because it's a state political issue that is not going to give rise to have the Supreme Court act on a federal basis on it. So it is going to be challenged, and that's what we have to be ready for. And that's why I think we have a darn good shot. I still believe we should have done this back in 2022. And we have to make maps that are going to satisfy all of the different laws on redistricting. It can be done. We've seen states like Tennessee that, the clip that you just played, they're discussing. There's a lot of watchdog groups that are out there. Go to Princeton or gerrymandering.princeton.edu. It's a big database by Princeton. It's not a conservative organization. It's friggin' Princeton. And they're even saying how, the way that Missouri has done it, we get an A+. Illinois gets an F. And the same people that are griping about, well, we're going to gerrymander, we're going to take away the voice of democracy. They've been silent on Illinois. They've been saying we're gerrymandering in the state of Missouri, even back in 2022. So look, let's do what the people want and send some strong representation to DC. We got to do it this way.
We have right now explained the districts and how they're cut up. So the goal here, and this is the argument from a couple of years ago, is you want to make a map that could potentially give Republicans 7 seats in Missouri and a Democrat 1. And that would be the one from right here in this particular area.
Yeah, so that's the former Cori Bush seat. When we did this back in 2022, the Voting Rights Act, a federal prohibition on cutting up some of these historic minority seats, and that's what they're labeling the city of St. Louis district. However, there is a push right now to have the Supreme Court revisit that. I don't think that's going to be heard in time for us to draw a district that gives Missouri an 8-0 map, like some of these Democrat states have done, and just quite quickly, I guess you could say, go look at the Voting Rights Act, type in St. Louis, and you can see all of the different court challenges on that. That's why the strongest that we could have is possibly a 7-1 map where you have 7 Republicans that are able to win. And again, all of the different political pundits that are out there saying that we're just taking the voice of the Democrats away. No, these seats like the Ann Wagner seat or the Cleaver seat,
be competitive.
the Cleaver seat, 100%. So it depends upon the candidate. And the people will speak, and the people spoke back in 2022 saying we have to do this, like Tennessee has done it, like other states have done it. Republicans are just sitting on their hands while Democrats continue to win.
All right, Nick, we'll keep you posted. I know there's a lot that could happen here in the next few weeks, so keep us posted on it, all right?
Sounds good.
Take care. That's State Senator Nick Schroer.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There is now an accident. It's just being reported on westbound 6440 past McKnight, kind of between McKnight and Clayton Morrison. And of course, we have slow-moving traffic behind that. Now, they've cleared the accident northbound 170 near Olive, but that has yet to unwind. And the accident eastbound 5564 at about 3rd Street in East St. Louis is still there, and it's created a parking lot jam back across the Poplar Street Bridge. Also slowing on the Illinois side is eastbound 64 headed for 159. Look for slow-moving traffic back to 157. Now, also on the Missouri side, the usual volume, southbound 270, south of Page, down through Ladue Road. Northbound is slowing at 40. And out west, just moderate volume westbound 64, mainly on either side of Prospect. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
From border security to school choice, the Constitution to the culture war. Made in America. Heard in the Midwest. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Point Pest Control is reminding you it's time to spray for mosquitoes. How can something that tiny interrupt your outside gatherings? Have Point Pest Control spray today so your next outside gathering is mosquito-free. 636-798-0023. Mention Annie to save an additional 10%. PointPestControl.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well,
I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
While you start to think spring, that might mean a move is in your future. But the question is, when is the right time to buy? Well, I go to my friend Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage to ask that question. Stewie, how do buyers beat the competition when they're looking to buy a new home?
All right, Annie, we're going to give you 3 big bullets. Number 1, get the bagel loan. No closing costs. If you don't have to pay those closing costs, add it to the bid. You'll beat all the other offers. Number 2, tell the seller you're going to close in 10 days. 10 days, most lenders take 30 days just to get the loan approved. He's going to take your offer over everybody else's right away. Number 3, we give you the power of the pre-approval in your hands. You can access our portal anytime you want and generate your own pre-approval letter. Don't wait for the lender. You can make it happen yourself.
Well, the smart move starts by calling or texting my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. He just gave you those 3 tips to smart buying to beat the competition. Google the bagel loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
You know, Sue, Josh Hammer mentioned earlier this afternoon about kids going back to school, and you just asked me during the break, when does Alexa go back? I cannot wait. It's a week from today. It has been a long summer with camps, and I know there's a lot of parents out there that cannot wait. It's stressful. It really is, especially when a camp is, you know, in the morning from like 9 a.m. to 10:30 or something like that. I have the flexibility of, you know, covering some of the mornings. My wife has been a rock star trying to get all this. Like, she's got some soccer practice that starts tonight. I leave the show. I'm down to 1 car right now. My car's in the shop. So I have to pick up the puppy. Then I have to go to the soccer practice.
Oh my gosh.
It's all very confusing. It's all very stressful, but school starts 1 week from today. And you know what? My daughter's excited about it. She really is.
Good.
She
Yeah,
wants to
she's
see
in
her
a great
friends.
age. I
5th
think.
grade. I
Yeah.
cannot believe it. I will tell, and I teased this a little bit on Friday, and I know that I sent you a text a couple of weeks ago, but there was an incident in which I felt like I might have been about to be arrested that occurred in the last couple of weeks. There's an explanation
All
for
right.
all of this. Okay, it wasn't like a black helicopter landed in my backyard.
That's good.
But there's a part of the story where you're going to say, oh, that sounds exactly like something you would have done. And then there's the part of the story that kind of brings it all together. And I'll get to that
All
here
right.
before Sue's News. We do have a Monday edition of Sue's News. Paul Mauro coming up, of course, from the opsdesk.org. We'll talk about Mamdani and the Trump announcement today on the situation with D.C. Just a little bit more audio. Look, I get what Nick says. I'm uncomfortable with the confusion of redrawing congressional lines every couple of years and trying to do things that, at least on the surface, seem to thwart what maybe voters have weighed in on. But on the other hand, some of this stuff gets so ridiculous in these other states. And let me offer you a couple examples. And I'm proud of the mainstream media because I played that cut from Kristen Welker. This is on Fox, mind you, but it's Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, getting called out for their stuff up there.
That's how National Review summarized it. They said it was only 3 years ago that New York's Democratic legislature drew up a map so brazenly contemptuous of basic rules that govern a district's contiguousness that the state's Democrat-dominated Court of Appeals threw it out. The New York Times at the time called those maps comically contorted. That's their quote. So your state's highest court at the time, all the judges appointed by Democratic governors, they threw the maps out. So fair to say Democrats have done what they're now accusing Republicans of doing.
No, we followed the rules. We do it every 10 years.
No.
We base
But
it
the
on
court
census.
said you didn't follow the rules.
Well, we did follow the rules.
So the court was
We did.
wrong?
Well, we followed the rules.
Yeah, they all have their talking points. And then there's Eric Holder. You know, he used to be the attorney general. Hey, when Mike Brown was the thing, remember Eric Holder was the guy who did the report that said, no, he did not have his hands up and say not shoot. Remember that? But here's what he says. This is kind of funny because this is what they're doing. And I'm the first to admit Republicans talk out of both sides of their mouth sometimes as well. But he criticizes it gerrymandering, and then he says, but I kind of got to do it too.
Well, there's no question that gerrymandering is a threat to our democracy. It allows politicians to pick their voters as opposed to citizens choosing their representatives. But we are now in a situation where we find ourselves where authoritarian moves are being made by the White House through various states, Texas most prominent among them. And there has to be a response to that. What I've said is that we have to protect our democracy now if we ultimately want to be able to save it. And so taking the reasonable steps that have been proposed in California, I think it makes a great deal of sense in this moment. A temporary way in which to respond to that which is happening in Texas, with the thought that after this crisis has passed, we get back to the fight against gerrymandering by anybody.
Okay, so you kind of got that, didn't you? Here's what he said, essentially. Gerrymandering, bad, really, really bad. But you know what? Even though we did it and the Republicans are doing exactly what we did, we got to fight back. We still have to do the gerrymandering, at least in this moment, until we have control. That's basically what he said.
It's complete insanity.
And then there's James Carville. And listen to what he says. And look, there is legitimate fear about this. Let's say it's not impossible. I think you hear him say this, that the Republicans lose all 3 chambers in 2028. It could happen, right? You got midterms next year. You don't know. These margins are so narrow, which, by the way, is one of the reasons Trump's trying to do this and put emphasis on Texas and in Missouri. But Carville says this.
Democrats talk about democracy, and you have these people, importance of democracy and preserving democracy and saving democracy. Well, the truth of the matter is people are right when they say this democracy is really imperfect. And they're going to have to do, if the Democrats win the presidency, the Senate and the House in 2028, which is not impossible. I don't know if you say likely or possible. Or I don't know what word you know, but it's certainly not impossible.
I would agree with him, by the way. I mean, you've seen things shift very, very quickly back and forth. It's not impossible. It could happen. So then think about the consequences of that. Here's what he's advocating.
They are just going to have to unilaterally add Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia states. They're going to have to, Congress does give, the Constitution gives Congress power over federal elections. I don't think they can redistrict, but they're things they're going to do. They're going to have to do it.
All right. So did you hear what he said there, though? He said you're going to have to add Puerto Rico and D.C. as states. And that because they want the numbers. If you add D.C. as a state, I don't know if they would just get 1 representative. It's 750,000 people. They may get 2. I don't know how the numbers work. We can find that out. Puerto Rico, same thing. So then now you have a senator or 2 senators from the District of Columbia. They're not going to be Republicans. From Puerto Rico, they're not going to be Republicans.
Nope.
So this is where I have to sit back and say, look, you know, if you sit on your hands and you don't try to do some of the things that Greg Abbott is trying to achieve in Texas and Nick Schroer and the folks here in Missouri, we may be way on the outside looking in 2028 and beyond. I don't like those ideas at all. But again, the Democrats know that this is in their playbook. And the Republicans are trying to use what's in their playbook right now to do as much shoring up as they possibly can to make sure that democracy does survive and does thrive. All right, my near arrest story coming up after Fox News and before Sue's News, and that's right after 4 o'clock.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got some issues on the Illinois side, and it looks like at least one of those has been cleared. It was an accident eastbound 5564 near 3rd Street, but the damage is done. We have a jam across the Poplar and back onto 40. Also on 40, this one westbound, it's an accident as you approach Clayton Warson, and that one has caused a delay behind it. If you're traveling in that area, you'll also notice a jam, especially as you head toward Lindbergh. Now, other than that, it hasn't been too bad. Oh, as soon as I say that, 55 is stacking up pretty quickly. And that's near Arsenal down through Bates. Northbound 170 is slow go at 70. And on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 slowing between 157 and 159. Yeah, that's about it. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Looking for windows that solve your problems and actually add value to your home? Renewal by Andersen has you covered. Andersen products increase a home's value by at least 15%. Right now, get $329 off every window and $729 off every patio or entry door. Ask about our zero interest plan for 3 years. Renewal by Andersen is the full-service replacement division of Andersen, a name you've trusted for over 122 years. Our exclusive Fibrex frames are 200% stronger than vinyl and built to last. It's why we have more 5-star reviews than anyone in St. Louis. And only Renewal by Andersen backs it up with the nation's best warranty. Schedule your complimentary consultation now at rbastl.com or call 877-WINDOWS. That's 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Andersen. Superior products, exceptional service.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty 314-325-6888.
Amongst other things, including Sue's News. Frank Cusumano after the Cardinals take 2 of 3 from the Cubs. Coming up at 4:50.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
CA Fox News. President Trump announcing he is planning a federal takeover of Washington, D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department. He's deploying 800 National Guard troops in the city to deal with crime. At a press conference at the White House, the president says he thinks the situation in D.C. makes the whole country look bad.
When you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in. Because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us.
Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser reacting in her own press conference.
I believe that the president's view of D.C. is shaped by his COVID era experience during his first term. And it is true that those were more challenging times related to some issues.
Mayor Bowser says D.C. experienced a crime spike post-COVID, but worked quickly to put laws in place that got offenders off the streets. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are meeting up on Friday in Alaska to discuss a possible peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Fox Business Network's Rich Edson has the latest.
Trump says he thinks Russia wants to finish the war, but acknowledged that Putin has disappointed him before.
I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war. You got to end it. And he wasn't going to mess with me. This war would have never happened. You know, we had a discussion about it one time, and we never had that discussion again. Would have never happened.
The president says after meeting with Putin, he'll call Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other European leaders. Trump says Russia and Ukraine need to agree to swap land. Zelensky has rejected the idea, refusing to hand Ukrainian territory to Putin that Russia does not control.
And again, Fox's Rich Edson reporting there. America's listening to Fox News.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
You want to see basketball played the way it's supposed to be? Tune in to Ice Cube's Big 3 this summer. Watch stars like Dwight Howard, Kemba Walker, Joe Johnson, Michael Beasley, and many more, along with Hall of Fame coaches. Experience the fast pace and physical play and fun action that defines the game. You know what it is. It's the Big 3. Catch the best professional 3-on-3 players in the world live every weekend on CBS and Vice. Yay!
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
For the middle of August, it's really not too bad outside. Temperatures, they're bearable. Humidity levels also bearable. Mid to upper 80s for evening plans. Partly cloudy and 74 overnight. Tuesday, partly sunny, kind of hot, kind of humid, but again, nothing extreme. We'll look for a couple of scattered thunderstorms, 92. 73 on Tuesday night. Wednesday, partly sunny, couple of storms, and 90. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Need to sell your home and you want the most money? The name to remember is Gloria Lou. Yes, Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty at 314-325-6888 and start packing.
Well, I've really gotten a chance to know Susan L. Ward. She was not my divorce attorney. I was divorced many decades ago, and I certainly hope I do not need her help in the future. But if you need her help, she's there for you. And this is a tough area of the law. I've talked about it before. I'm an angry person. My coworkers will tell you that. I don't think I've ever been more angry than when I was going through this process because the law gets complicated. It's a lot to handle. There could be children involved. You need someone like Susan on your side, and she's there for you right here in St. Louis with multiple locations, including a brand new location, a beautiful new office in De Pere near 270 and Manchester Road. So if you're thinking that the marriage is heading in a bad direction, call right away. Get on the horn or go online. There's a confidential consultation form. Maybe it's something else that happens in the aftermath of a divorce, modifications to existing orders, child support. They handle domestic violence, protective orders, all that. She's got a great staff, a lot of experience, and a beautiful new office as well. 314-783-9400, the website, stlfamilylaw.com. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
You've got a ton of equity in your home. You're sitting on a gold mine, and you could do so much with all that cash, like travel, invest it, or pay off debt, but you can't touch it unless you sell your home. But you really don't want to move. And besides, homes are sitting on the market for a long time these days. You're trapped, right? Well, not with TrueHold. With TrueHold, you can cash out your equity in as little as 30 days. And listen, you don't have to move. You can stay in the home you love as a renter. So that's TrueHold's Sell and Stay program. You cash out your entire home's value and stay put. TrueHold even covers property taxes, property insurance, and essential repairs. So imagine using that equity to travel, invest, or pay off debt and stay in your home. It's brilliant, especially in this slow market. You get an all-cash offer now by calling 1-855-300-9993. You can also visit TrueHold.com, the smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's TrueHold.com.
Calling all future sportscasters. Sharpen your skills and learn from the best of the Missouri Broadcasters Association Sportscasters Forum, Tuesday, September 16th in St. Louis. Join Cardinals beat reporters, broadcasters, and the legendary John Rooney, the voice of the Cardinals, for insider sessions on play-by-play, interviewing, reporting, and more. Then cap the day with a Cards-Reds game at Busch Stadium. Open to college students and broadcasting pros. Just $10 for students, lunch, and a game ticket. Space is limited. Register by September 2nd at MissouriBroadcasters.org.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
You know, my wife went with a friend to the soccer game.
Show
wait a second.
on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is all new to me. Plus, I've barely been on the air for the last 3 months, so let's face it. I'm sorry about that. I am so sorry that I did not allow my proper intro to start. So my wife goes to the soccer game on Saturday night with a friend, and I was teasing her a little bit because she was going to wear, we are very fond of the XXXY athletic gear. And I thought, well, if someone makes a big deal out of you having a hat that says XXXY Athletics, could they kick you out? Per the MLS policy, I think they could. But here's what I was told, by the way. I was told that the team has decided to, this is an MLS policy that got the guy kicked out with the MAGA hat. It is not a city policy or a stadium policy. So the word that I got inside information is that the family, the ownership basically said, no, we're not doing this. We're not kicking people out for reasons like this. If you get complaints, direct them to guest services and we'll deal with it beyond that. So that's why there were no more incidents, if you will, over the weekend. But I think that's kind of common sense and should have been implemented in the first place. Okay, so here's my story that I probably over dramatized with you guys, but it just seems like something, and I think Sue will agree, that would have happened to me. Some of this goes back to April. So when I was getting ready to go to Greece, my driver's license was expiring and my tags expired in April, right? Ooh. So I wanted to get the tags done in particular. Well, actually both, because of the road closing near my home, Hillsborough Road. And we knew that people like we were doing this, we were sneaking through there, and the cops, they were threatening to pull us over, right? So I thought, oh man, if I get a tag, I'm going to get a ticket for this, I'm going to get a ticket for that. So I wanted to make sure that the tags were done anyway, and they needed to be, even though I'm lackadaisical on that. So I go to the DMV that one morning in April before the trip, and I get the tags, and then it's a separate line, to get your license and the real ID and everything. So I'm like, there's no way. I mean, I was in the line for more than an hour for the tags. There's not a chance in hell that I'm going to sit here for another hour and a half, which was approximately the time frame I was looking at. So I did not get the license renewed. So Greece comes, I come back. I'm not feeling great. I've had these challenges for people who didn't hear the opening or the explanation. I had a pretty, I would describe it as a pretty severe mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And I'll go into more details at some point. We don't want to bore people with that right now. The good thing is I'm trying to push forward and get back on the horse and everything like that. So I don't get the license renewed. I'm at a doctor's appointment 2 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks ago on Wednesday. And it's in Brentwood, and I'm cutting through on Elm to go to 44 because that's the easiest way to go to Brentwood. So I'm coming back from the doctor's appointment. It's like 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, 10:15. And I'm going through the intersection of Elm and Lockwood, right downtown in Webster Groves, where all the white guilty people usually hold the signs, the Black Lives Matter signs. It's really right there at that corner. So I recognize at one point that I'm in a turning lane only, and I'm not in the line to go right, down Elm across Lockwood.
Right.
So I kind of cheat a little bit, and it was an honest mistake. I didn't know it was a turn lane. I don't come from that direction that often. So I eased into traffic, and next thing I know, I got a cop behind me, and I got lit up, and I'm pulled over. I pull into a neighborhood. I'm like, okay. And he comes to my passenger door. It's a Webster Groves police officer. And I roll the window down, and I said, hello. And he says, license and proof of insurance. I'm like, is this because I merged from the turning lane? He goes, no, sir, we'll get to that in a second. I'm like, okay. So he's pretty stern with me.
Yeah.
And then I have to tell him. So I'm handing him my license, and I've been carrying my passport card because that is, my form of ID if I need to do anything. I think I did have to show somebody that at one time at the bank or something. I have no idea. So, but I kept it with me because it looks like a license, the passport.
Okay.
It's not my actual passport. It's a passport card. So he goes, why are you giving me two IDs? I'm like, well, because
mine's expired.
And like an idiot, here's what I say, because I'm frazzled. And I said, dude, I just got to tell you, I came from a doctor's office, and I'm kind of going through this mental health thing right now. And I was trying to offer excuses for not getting the license renewed, which was somewhat valid, although I procrastinate anyway. And I think you guys know me pretty well. You'd probably say, even if I didn't have anything, I probably wouldn't have gotten it renewed. Fair enough. So he says, okay, well, here's what I want you to do. Put your hands on the steering wheel. Do not move them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come around and get you out of the car. I'm like,
get you out of the car?
Yeah, he's going to get me out of the car. I'm like, okay. So at this point, if I'm black, I'm dead. I just want you to know this. I'm kidding, obviously. But I got grips on the steering wheel. He comes around, and then the door is locked. So I kind of have to wing. I'm like, hey, dude, I got to open the car. He gives me the okay. So he gets me out. I have my hands up against the car. He pats me down. I do a little frisk thing.
Oh my
Do you have any
gosh.
weapons in the car, anything like that, or explosives? I'm like, no, I don't. I do not. Well, here's why we pulled you over. This license plate, and I don't know if it was a camera that caught it or if it was his car, whatever the technology is. The license plate came up as a warrant. That was issued
my
for that car.
gosh.
So I said, and there was another officer that came, and these guys were great, by the way. I said, look, the only thing I can think of is I had this issue in the city of St. Louis. Remember, I told you about this, and I was worried about it. I had Brad Young check, and the file was closed, so there was nothing, because I was specifically worried that if I got pulled over with that road closing situation, that I'd be arrested because of a warrant or something like that. No, that wasn't it. So then I can hear the radio chatter, and it was hotter than hell this day. I asked the officer, I said, can we go into the shade maybe? And he said, yeah. And he says, well, sometimes there's things, cars leave the scene of an accident or a crime or something like that, and the license plate gets in there. No, it was actually, there was a warrant. It was not for me. It was for my wife, because my wife is technically registered with my car. I'm registered on her car. Don't ask. It's just one of those things that happen. But here's what it was for. And this is kind of ridiculous. The warrant was outstanding because there was an incident in 2023 in Warren County, and the only ticket that she got was for failure to provide insurance.
Oh.
So apparently a letter went out. I don't remember seeing it. I don't know if Becky, I have no idea. There was a court date that was set for last July.
Okay.
We didn't show up for the court date because
Oh.
it got overlooked or whatever. At that point, and I'm just telling you, I get the mail and I go through all the bills. I don't remember seeing anything about this. I could have easily overlooked it.
Yeah.
But there was a court date that was set, and there was no appearance. So then a warrant goes out for
Yeah.
that. And the cop comes back and says, look, you're good. He did write me a ticket for getting my license, having an expired license, which, by the way, I have corrected. I haven't gotten the actual license in the mail.
Go.
But he said, look, he goes, I'm going to be honest with you. If your wife was driving the car, or if your wife gets pulled over for another reason, she's going to be arrested.
Yeah.
So she could have been with Alexa's friends or
Yeah.
something like that and been arrested. That would have been an interesting story. Thankfully, Brad Young, God bless you. Everything got taken care of. We provided the proof of insurance. The prosecutor said, okay, there's not even going to be a fine. But man, that freaked me out because I didn't know what was going on. And, I got to compliment the cop because the cop was really cool in the end. I mean, he didn't know who he was dealing with or what he was dealing with. He just knew it was a warrant. So
Right.
I had to go through the official steps. And he said, look, you did great. And he even said to me, look, I deal with anxiety as well. So I hope you get better on that front. And it was a really, but he was doing his job at first because
Yes, he
again, I
was.
could have been, and people lie all the time anyway. I could have said, I don't know if the thing about a warrant. So it turned out well, but it was a little, it's a little daunting there for a few minutes. But I did go to the DMV like 3 days later and I got my license.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Wow. Okay. On the roads, we've got some volume on the Illinois side. Eastbound 64, 157 to approaching 159. We've got road work 5570 eastbound at Exchange causing a delay. There was an accident on westbound 6440 past McKnight. It's been blocking that left lane. It looks like that may have been cleared, but the jam behind it has yet to unwind. Northbound 170 slowing at 70. Southbound slow pockets from Page down through Ladue Road. And out west, it's not that bad, but you'll find some moderate volume westbound 6440, especially at Prospect. Also southbound 55 slow, headed down toward Bates. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sue's News is coming up for Monday.
Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Visit MissouriBrushControl.com.
Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property, manage vegetation, and clear land for better views. Enjoy your land the way you always dreamed of. Missouri Brush Control, making acreage great again.
Let's share some success stories from Mark and Neil Gelman and the Gelman team, because if you're looking for realtors here in St. Louis, the Gelman team with eXp Realty can help you like they did Kurt and Shannon, who were upsizing. They purchased a new home, and prior to listing their current home, they needed help, right? So the Gelman team came in, helped them prepare the current home in Creve Coeur for sale. They priced it properly, very important. They procured the buyer themselves before even listing the property, and the buyer paid 3% over asking price. Then there's the story of Dylan and Fang, relocating outside of St. Louis. They already owned a second home prior to listing their current home. The Gelman team comes in, they help them prepare the home, they priced it properly, they listed their home in Chesterfield, they were able to get it in under contract on day 3 on the market, multiple contracts, 7% above asking price. If you need help, or even if you just want to know the current value of your home, they have a great tool on their website at thegelmanteam.com, or you can also go to tgtvalues.com. The Gelman team with eXp Realty here in St. Louis, they do great work. Check out the Gelman team today. Tell them that I sent you along.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at LanceDruryLaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Do you have a dark curiosity? Heart Starts Pounding, Horrors, Hauntings, and Mysteries is a weekly podcast hosted by me, Kaylin Moore. Each week, I'll take you on a dark journey through terrifying true urban legends, bizarre true crime cases, chilling tales of backwoods horror, and more. So if you're looking to join a passionate community of the darkly curious, check out Heart Starts Pounding on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, stay curious.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I will say one more thing about the story with the officer in Webster Groves. He did end up knowing my name and who I was and what I did. I don't think that affected anything. But at the end, the parting comment was, "Well, can't wait to hear this one on the radio." So there you go, officer. I hope you were listening this afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
You know what? I feel like I did this last year, but we're going to do it again because 38 years ago today in 1987, Clara Peller passed away at 86. You recognize the name?
Where's the beef?
That is correct.
It certainly is a big bun. It's a very big bun. Big fluffy bun. It's a very big fluffy bun. Where's the beef?
I still love. Do you know that ad jumped? Wendy's sales went up 31% after that series and her Where's the Beef? Man, that is serious. What were you saying, Fred?
You know, I know you'll believe this, but somewhere in my family, either my sisters, I don't have it, we still have a Where's the Beef Clara Peller washcloth.
But where would you even acquire such a thing?
I don't know where it came. It just showed up in the family. And
oh my gosh, that's
been passed
awesome.
down through the ages.
They do lists all the time, right? So, favorite songs, best guitar songs. If they did a list of the most iconic commercials, you'd have to put that in at least in the top 10, if not in the top 5, because it was not only game-changing, effective marketing and advertising, but it became part of pop culture.
It really did. And that commercial is 3 old ladies. So, that's not the popular thought of who can sell stuff. The fact that took off 31%, good for Wendy's. All right. Morgan Wallen just tied Elton John. I think I've got some Morgan in there. I
think you do.
He just tied Elton John for 39 non-consecutive weeks at the #1 spot on Billboard Album 200 chart.
She said, "You don't want this heart, boy, it's already broke." Told me
and that's for the new record?
Yep.
Okay.
His song, What I Want, is #1 right now. And this is 39 non-consecutive weeks at the #1 spot. So the Beatles also did it. And of course, they hold the record. The most, 132 weeks.
Consecutive.
Yes. Non-consecutive. Non-consecutive.
So in other words, this could have,
correct.
Clear, it drops out of the #1, then it pops back up.
That's correct.
Okay.
And T. Swiftie, of course, is #2. She's done it 86 weeks. Elvis had 67. But Morgan Wallen just tied Elton John 39 non-consecutive weeks at the #1 spot on the Billboard Album 200 chart.
It's a great song.
Yeah, Fred, I forgot you're into Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen.
Yeah. All right, they've got a trailer now for The Office spin-off the paper. Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Have you, Mark?
No, I've heard about it. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago, but I have not seen the ad or the trailer.
Are you a Office person? I kind of love those.
Oh, I did.
Did you?
I wasn't. Becky was into it a lot more than I was. I mean, I love Steve Carell. I love the characters. It wasn't one that I was completely addicted to.
That's fair. Well, this one, they've got the trailer out. If this is your thing and you want to look it up, it's a 10-episode mockumentary series about a struggling newspaper staff in, of course, Toledo, Ohio. They have to mix it up. And it includes the return of a familiar face, Oscar Martinez. And at the end of the trailer, Oscar points to the documentary crew and says something like, quote, "Not again. I'm not agreeing to any of this." And so that's how it starts. So they've got 10 episodes. It premieres September 4th on Peacock. And they'll have 4 episodes there, and then 2 will be released each week after that through September the 25th. So if that's your thing, You may enjoy that.
Oscar was always the HR guy that always, brought everybody down. Didn't he? Was bringing reality
Well,
to the office.
yeah, it was that and Toby. Toby did that.
Toby.
So
That's right.
Oscar was he Money? He might have been Money. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
remember.
And by the way, there's strong St. Louis influence.
I think Ethan might have something to add here.
Oh, yes, Ethan.
Oscar was one of the accountants.
Thank you.
Toby
good
was
job.
the HR guy that brought everyone
Toby
down.
was the guy. Okay.
Yes, Oscar was super smart. He was the one in the show that was gay.
Yes. We had to
And
have...
he cheated on with Angela's husband that was the
Oh,
senator.
that's right. I
all
forgot
this
that he
stuff.
cheated with the senator.
Mhm.
But there's
dear.
so much strong office connection with St. Louis because Jenna Fisher.
Yeah.
We had wasn't Ellie Kemper in that show
Yep.
too?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then Phyllis Smith is from St. Louis.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
three
It's
of the
pretty
stars
cool.
from that show.
I wonder, I kind of wondered when I read this, whether they'll have cameos from the people from the past, because that would be awesome.
You would think they'll try
Right?
to work that in.
They 100. I'd be shocked. It'd be a shame if they did not.
Agreed. Okay, this I found interesting. It's not something I've ever thought about, but there's a new trend of women ordering food with a man's name instead of their own. And this woman that I'm going to play here for you has gone viral after ordering with a female name and a man's name to see how the orders differ.
Okay,
Let's hear it.
I got the exact same order from Chipotle with a girly name, my name, and with a man's name. I changed my customer account name and everything. So let's see who they gave more food to. Ladies first, we're going to start with mine. This is Emily Joy. It's not a bad portion. And this one, I use the name Andrew. Feels a little heavy, but let's see. It looks a lot more full. This makes me really mad.
I don't know about that. That's like a one-off thing, right? I mean,
Right.
and
I
now
don't
she's
know if
getting all
they
the attention.
say-
We're giving her all the attention on her social media account for this.
They say it's a thing. It kind of makes me wonder. But I'm not surprised by it, but I don't know if it's a consistent thing or whether I don't know.
Well, I could tell you this much: if it's real, I'm never going to test it. Being that
You're
I
not
am a man,
You want all
I'm
the
going to
food.
stick with that.
But when these things come in from apps and everything,
Well, they
these
go by
folks-
name.
Okay, but what I'm saying, like the fast food workers,
Yeah.
many of which there's not very good ones anymore. We know that. And I feel sorry for them because they're picked on by the customers because the customers are frustrated. But is that what they're looking at? They're looking at the name before they're looking at the food? I would think that this gets into such a routine that the name doesn't even matter to them. They're just making sure that the order is fulfilled.
Well, I mean, that I'm sure that there's a little of both, but I just found that interesting that somebody gave it a shot. But they say it's a new trend. So maybe someone that happened somewhere and then they thought, ooh, let's test this further and see if it works.
So it's probably now more of a TikTok thing.
Yeah,
People are
right.
doing
It's now
this,
it's
yeah.
becoming a thing.
I got it.
Okay, I love the visuals of this. Chicago's annual Ducky Derby happened last week. This is the cutest thing. And they raised nearly $600,000 for the Special Olympics. But what they do is dump more than 82,000 rubber ducks into the Chicago River. And then people donate $10 a duck for a chance to win prizes. And I guess one of the prizes was actually a car. It was a Trailblazer. So the official results aren't out yet. But if you want to see a cute video, it's a dump truck pulling up to the Chicago River and just
All of them
dumping
falling out.
82,000 rubber duckies. And then there's a guy who has to go by with like a pool skimmer and try to get them all out. Oh, it takes forever.
It's amazing. My brother-in-law, Glenn, was in charge of the duck drop in Steelville, Missouri a few years ago.
How many do they have?
Oh,
You know,
I don't know, but it took a ton of volunteers. I was one of them in my whole family.
Wait,
to
I
take
got a
care
little
of it.
distracted here. What is the significance of it?
well, it goes to
a
Special
fundraiser.
Olympics.
But why is it a duck drop?
$10 a ducky. And I
Okay, then
think
whoever crosses
whoever
first
crosses into
wins.
the lake first.
I gotcha.
So it's kind of a race. They don't really ever mention that.
Okay.
But I went on today because that happened last week, and I thought, okay, let's get the results. They're like, these are still not official yet. I thought, okay. And then when you read, oh, well, it's because somebody wins a car, you could see how that would go. So they have to look up the numbers and make sure it was their duck. And finally, in Sue's News, I do this for Mark Reardon. It's totally random. There is a town called Zilwaukee in Michigan.
Really?
The founders chose the name in 1848 to try to confuse people who were planning to move to Milwaukee. So they accidentally would move there instead because they needed people. That is Zilwaukee, Michigan.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Isn't that great?
That's
If
wonderful.
it worked at all.
I have no idea if it works, but just the idea.
Whenever I told people I think it still happens. Everybody thinks Milwaukee is Minneapolis, and they kind of the people get the geography wrong more often.
1,500 people in Milwaukee.
That's great. By the way,
it was only partially
they
successful.
had terrible flooding up there in Milwaukee and in the suburbs of Wauwatosa, not too far from where I lived. But 13 inches of rain. It was crazy.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. Disney's ESPN and Fox are teaming up to offer their upcoming direct-to-consumer streaming services as a bundle. That bundle will be available October 2nd for $39.99 a month. Separately, ESPN and Fox One will cost $29.99 and $19.99 a month, respectively. Shares of lithium companies surging today on reports that battery maker Contemporary Amperex Technology suspended production at a mine in China that plays a major role in supplying the global market. Shares of U.S. miner Albemarle, that is based in North Carolina, were up more than 10%. The horror film Weapons scared mightily over the weekend, topping the box office during its debut with $42.5 million. On Wall Street, stocks were lower, with the Dow falling more than 200 points and the NASDAQ off the pace by 64. Crude oil futures for September, however, around 64 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I kind of have a theme on the show when it comes to sponsors. If you're looking for the best, I'm going to guide you into the best. I have long-time, very loyal sponsors like Morelli Tuck Pointing is a good example. I've known John and Cindy for a long time. It's a family-run operation. I remember when their daughter was still going to school, and then now she works in the operation. That even goes back many years, her husband. So they do expert work when it comes to masonry services here in St. Louis. That could be a big job, could be a small job. Unfortunately, I think because of the tornado, there's a lot of big jobs out there right now, and John can handle these. They are located right here in the St. Louis area. If you can hear my voice, they can help you. They have a great staff for tuck pointing, spot pointing with color match, chimney repair, brickwork, stone foundation repair, waterproofing, caulking. The website has all kinds of pictures, the before and after pictures, free estimates, competitive pricing, 31 plus years of experience, the highest quality workmanship. They very much take pride in that. The website, MorelliTuckPointing.com. The phone number, 314-645-1387 for Morelli Tuck Pointing.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air. It's 433.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
President Trump held a news conference this morning. Pete Hegseth was there. Janine Pirro, I think I'm getting that wrong, right? Paul Mauro will correct me in a second. Here's what President Trump said.
Announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
Yeah, he says it's now under federal control.
Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control.
Fox News contributor Paul Mauro, he is the founder of a great website called theobsess.org, is back with us this afternoon. Hello, Paul. How are you? Happy Monday to you.
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Mark.
What do you think about this move? You know, there's a lot of parallels between St. Louis and D.C. when it comes to crime. Obviously, much bigger city, much more things on display with the Capitol. But when I heard a lot of the details, when I heard this news conference this morning, I couldn't help but, thinking about St. Louis and the lack of police that we have and some of the out of control crime that we've experienced. But the president's had enough. The question would be, the Democrats are going to love trying to go at him on this, talking about, taking democracy away. Was this a good move on the part of the Trump administration?
I think it was. I mean, it's a little bit part of Donald Trump's overall plan here to try to enliven and revivify America's cities, which are all failing across the board. I mean, what I've referred to on the air as the nutjob archipelago, because every possible pathology that the left can conjure is in play in all of our major blue cities. I mean, on the East Coast, you got Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York, even Boston now is starting to go. Washington, D.C., of course, St. Louis, as you say, Memphis, then you go to Chicago, and we can go out west to Oakland, San Francisco, L.A., Seattle, Portland. All of them are suffering under the same delusions that we can somehow or other social worker our way into safe cities, into cities that don't suffer from the dysfunction of homelessness and rampant crime, recidivism, things that we learned the hard way in the 80s and into the 90s. And the problem with them is that they worked. And the left just can't seem to countenance that. And so I think that Donald Trump's audience today was far bigger than Washington, D.C. A couple of times he made the point to expand the playing field. I think he was talking to the big city mayors of the country. D.C. is more amenable to what he's done here, obviously, because it's federal and there is legislation in place that he can invoke to do what he did today. But one thing about Donald Trump I've learned is that, you certainly can't bet against him. And I have a feeling that he's got a follow-on plan here for New York, likely next, and many other cities across the board.
I had someone say to me, I understand why he's doing this, but how would I feel if you had federal troops that were wandering around St. Louis, for example? And I said, well, I don't think I'd be really troubled by it because I don't think they're going to be showing that force during the daytime. It's at 1 a.m. when these kids look. Paul, we had this story from last week where these 14-year-old kids carjacked an Uber driver and they were brought into custody. They were let out because they were, Ute offenders. Then they carjacked a Lyft driver. You can't even make this stuff up. So you got crime that's going on from 14-year-old kids on down the line. It's unacceptable. People don't feel safe in many parts of our city and many parts of your city. So we just took back state control of our police department. We now have a police commission. Several years ago, we got rid of that because we were one of the few cities in the country that did not have, local control. So we went to local control, complete failure. Crime numbers spiked. It didn't work. There was reluctancy, but a lot of people, including me, who were on board with local control, finally said, we got to go in the other direction because what we're doing now is not working.
Yeah, and you guys had one of the worst prosecutors in the country in Kim Gardner.
Clearly.
And you're
yes,
thankfully rid of her, but she was really a paradigm for just ineptitude. And the functions there that were failing are failing everywhere. We have Alvin Bragg here, which is just another version of Kim Gardner, and you have them across the country. In Philadelphia, obviously, you have, and thankfully they got rid of Chesa Boudin out in San Francisco, but it hasn't improved much. And the thing that happened that I think I just should sensitize people to is that the left is very clever with this stuff, and they're relentless. It's a religion to them, and so they'll never give up. And when they saw the aperture that they could drive all of this stuff through after George Floyd, they got their entire wish list, and it happened everywhere. A lot of it was already on the march, but they institutionalized it this time. And what I mean by that is it's concretized in legislation. And so Jeanine Pirro today at the lectern in D.C. talked about it, where we have to change the law. We have to change the law. Because she's right. You can put in 1,000 cops. You can get the feds out there, and it's a prophylactic effect. You can stop people before it happens. But in terms of prosecuting after the fact and bringing cases that stick, raising the age to 18, which has happened here in New York and other cities, federally it is 18. Everybody gets charged as a youth offender. They go to family court. They get right out. And there is this reluctance to recognize that, if nothing else, if you lock these people up, and I recognize that in some instances they're going to be quite young, but if nothing else, if you lock them up, at least they're not out there hurting other people. And the age of criminal responsibility here in New York was 16 during the height of broken windows. And I got to tell you, I think that there are a lot of people walking around out there who might have become recidivist perps and ruined their lives who didn't go that way because at 16 they felt the brush of the system and they got on the straight and narrow, which is something you never hear about. But instead, we've incentivized this sort of thing. And as you know, you and I've talked about this, the older, more organized perps will use the younger kids, especially in D.C., for carjackings because they know they get away with it. And so these are things that just have been concretized, as I said, that they're locked in place by legislature. And in many of these blue cities and blue states, like, for instance, Illinois, you just are never going to get the kind of veto-proof majority on the right to undo this stuff. They knew that, and they locked it all in place. And it's almost like you just have to throw up your hands and say, well, this is what you want, and this is what you're going to get. But it really is a shame that we're going to give up the crown jewels of this country, which are our cities.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is. And we have our challenges here. There's no doubt. Let's talk about your friend, Mamdani, everyone's friend in New York City, the next mayor.
There is no borough that will be free from Trump's cruelty. We will feel the pain of this legislation, whether we are in Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, or Staten Island. And we will shine a light this week and every week on the costs of this vision that is coming out of Washington, D.C.
So he's not really talking about what he's going to do for New York City anymore. He's talking about what Trump is going to do to New York City and this threat of democracy. That seems to be the point of this tour here this week in all the boroughs.
Yeah, and, classic Marxism, which is that he's not going to articulate any specific policies or programs and procedures that he's going to put in place that are going to make life better for average New Yorkers. All he just does is say affordability, 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 Donald Trump bad. And, Robert Louis Stevenson, the British author, said that politics is the only profession for which it's thought no experience necessary. And this guy is absolutely the poster boy. He's never had a job. He's never had a real job. He's never run anything. He's been in government. He went from the classic academic government pipeline, which is, of course, the typical Marxist career path, right out of academia and into telling the rest of us how we should live our lives, despite never having to be, brushed up by the real world. And as a result, he's got all this pie in the sky stuff that I'm sure sounds great in the teacher's lounge. But in the real world, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And he's promising free lunches. And all I can say is that, we might have to go through what we went through here in the 70s and the 80s here in New York and across the country, in St. Louis as well, where the whole thing bottoms out.
Yep. I think that's where I am. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's where I think that's the camp that I'm in right now. But is it just me, or does he appear, because I guess the reality is settling in, he's the Democrat nominee. Typically, it's the Democrat nominee that's going to win the race. Curtis Sliwa is not going to win as a Republican. You have some independent candidates, but there does seem to be a realization that he's going to be the next mayor. And is he picking up more support because of that? He's getting some endorsements, isn't he?
Yeah, because everybody wants to be behind a winner, and a lot of the people that are endorsing him were running themselves for other things, and they all want him to give them jobs. And this always happens in government. In New York, it always happens. You see people start to align behind a presumptive winner, and I'm sure he's going to come through for it. You know, he's going to hand out deputy mayoralties like candy, and they'll all be on the public dime. And they, you know, we have, with every successive mayor since Giuliani, the size of New York City government has grown. Actually, I think Bloomberg did cut it a bit, but certainly under de Blasio and now under Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams started something like 15 brand new branches of city government, and it seems to have been just to employ his buddies. The city quality of life is, and the city just gets worse, but they're all employed, and so they're all lining up behind Mamdani. And as I said, you know, it's going to be amusing to watch him try to use social workers to keep the peace, to try to make the subways run, all the things that are failing here. He has no idea how to fix them. And unfortunately, right now, the last best hope here, and, you know, I want to bite my tongue for saying this, is Andrew Cuomo.
So even Eric Adams doesn't have a chance?
No, Adams is actually pulling behind Sliwa.
Oh, my.
And Adams, I think, Adams has forfeited his chance, and I'm sorry, but like I gave Adams a very good play right out of the gate. When a lot of people did not want to, you know, his reputation on the police department was less than stellar, but he managed his way into the, you know, Gracie Mansion, which is the mayor's mansion. And he's completely blown what was a golden opportunity. Having been a cop, but yet a Democrat, he had the opportunity to really clean us up after the de Blasio years. He said a lot of this stuff as he was running. And instead, as I said, he just expanded government, started new commissionerships and new branches, and the undersecretary of this and the special czar for that. And they half of them have been indicted. The other half had to resign, and they seem to be awaiting indictment. He himself was indicted. Donald Trump saved him. And he really just,
you guys got a mess.
He just created a mess, and he just blew it. And he had the opportunity to be transformative because we were already bottoming out after de Blasio. And he just didn't have the chops to do it. And I'm sorry, at this point, you got to give up on him.
So what I would say just from afar, if you're looking at Cuomo or Mamdani, I don't know that either one of them is better than the other. I mean, if Andrew Cuomo, oh my God. So I think that hitting rock bottom with Mamdani might be the better choice for New Yorkers. We'll have to see. Paul, always great to hook up with you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, take care. I'm a little out of practice. I hit that traffic sound a little bit too soon.
What do you think?
Well, you remember,
just
do it. Remember, I used to play music going into traffic. That's what I was.
Yeah.
My brain was taking me back to that, but I screwed that up. There you go.
Well, we've got an accident up north, and it happens to be on 270. And if you take that into Illinois, there's a huge delay. We've got eastbound 270 completely shut down at Riverview. They're asking that you use an alternate route, which is a good idea since it's totally shut down. But we have a jam that goes back through 367. This is due to an accident up there. Now, southbound 270, slow pockets approaching Olive, down through 6440. Accident northbound 270, just south of 40, and that's created a delay. Southbound 55 is slowing, headed for Bates. We've got westbound 64 lining up, approaching Hampton, out through McCausland. 70 isn't bad. There's some slow-moving traffic at Jennings Station Road, a little bit at K, and then out at Highway A. And if you're headed into Illinois, road work, 5570 eastbound at Exchange, causing delays. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. It is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door has the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs, located in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Mark Cox, 97.1 FM Talk.
Here we are, 11 years later, and the lies continue about why Mike Brown died that day.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon from my friends at MasterCars Inc. They're a used car dealership with new car caliber in Granite City. I rave about them and have been for a decade. I've done a lot of work with them. I've even sold some vehicles to Alex and Gary. Right now, they have some cool things on the lot. A nearly 700 horsepower horsepower luxury Cadillac Escalade. It's a V Series. It is awesome, straight from the factory. That's a great connection that they have because it was owned by one of the owners of Sporting Kansas City, the MLS team in Kansas City, and Alex and Gary, Alex in particular, huge football fans, if you will. There's a pretty cool Harley, a CVO Street Glide that they have on the lot right now. And as usual, they will buy everyday vehicles to exotics as long as they're in perfect condition with low miles. They'll buy entire collections. They love to trade for classics and motorcycles too. Interest rates have moved back down, and there's some great financing deals. They can handle that as well. They've shipped to 5 continents in the last 3 decades, but they love buying, selling, and trading right here in St. Louis. And you can find out more and do me a huge favor. Tell them I sent you in to Mastercars Inc. at mastercarsinc.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Our firm handles hundreds of crash cases involving semi-trucks every year. A crash case involving semis is much different, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can leave lots of money on the table. Many times there is separate insurance for the cab and for the trailer. Sometimes there are actually layers of other insurances and excess insurance that some lawyers may not know about because they don't see that many cases. We see these cases every day. Also, there are federal laws governing the hours a driver may drive in a 24-hour period and logs that are required. A crash case involving a semi-truck is a totally different animal than a simple car crash. We have lawyers who only handle these cases. It's all they do. Rolling the dice with the wrong law firm can be disastrous. Call us on your cell phone at Pound Law, pound 529. It's so easy. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Michele Tafoya after 5 o'clock. There's a bit of a cheerleader controversy with the Vikings. We'll talk about that and a bunch of other stuff. Frank Cusumano from KSTK is here, and I want to talk about the Cardinals and some other things. But I have it on good authority, Frank, that you and your wife saw Soul on Fire, the John O'Leary movie, in a sneak preview last week, and I hear it's pretty darn good. Can you give us a quick review?
Oh, my gosh. It was just riveting. Let me tell you, it's one of those movies, like Brian's song, there's probably like 3 moments that really get you. Well, there's like 10 moments. I mean, whether he's reunited with the PT or the Jack Book moments or the romantic moments with his wife. I mean, I'm telling you, you get more emotional watching this movie and you feel great about it too. It's not like a sad emotion. You just, wow, it's powerful. The word to describe it is freaking powerful.
John, of course, has gone on to be a very successful motivational speaker, author, and now film producer. He literally set himself on fire. He was, everybody thought he wasn't even going to make it. And Jack Buck, the legendary Cardinals broadcaster, becomes a huge part of the story. And John will tell you he saved his life. And Hollywood came a-calling here. And not only did they come a-calling, but they filmed the movie here in St. Louis. They have an October release date, which is huge because that shows confidence in the film. And some very special people like Frank are able to see this film. I've heard really good things, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, and I called Joe Buck and Julie right afterwards and said, if it's possible, I love your dad even more now. I mean, that's
great.
How good it is.
That's William H. Macy playing Jack Buck. All right, the Cardinals win a series against the Dodgers, and they take 2 of 3 from the Cubs. And the Cubs been struggling a little bit. In the meantime, the Brewers just keep winning in that division.
Yeah, the Brewers you can't be concerned about. What you should be concerned about is you're only 3.5 games out of the third and final wild card playoff spot, and you only have to pass 2 teams. The odds are still not great, but I just left the ballpark, and you can't tell those guys they think they're out of it. I mean, from Alec Burleson to Nolan Gorman, that game wasn't just a victory last night. That was like really, hey, we won a series. It was national television. We're only 3.5 back. I mean, that was galvanizing, that win last night.
There's a lot of things, Frank, that are working right now that are looking good for this club. You could talk about a lot of the youth and how guys are taking advantage of opportunity. But I tell you what, I think the biggest bright spot right now for me is since the trade deadline, how impressive those new young guys in the bullpen have been in those high leverage spots. What have you taken from Riley O'Brien, Matt Swanson, some of these guys that have taken advantage of the opportunity?
Yeah, and some of them really aren't that young. They're new. Like I think Riley O'Brien is almost 30, but he's got electric stuff. And I remember at spring training a couple of years ago, Ali was so disappointed that he got hurt at the end because his stuff it's explosive. So, we gave up 3 relievers. And by the way, Ryan Helsley has an ERA in the 6s with the Mets. The guys that we brought up and given a chance have really stepped up and pitched well. The problem is this. You're going to have starters other than Sonny Gray and Michael McGreevy come through. Like tonight's a perfect opportunity. The Rockies are starting a guy who actually has worse numbers than Miles Michaelis. You've got to win this game. You've got to win this game against a terrible Rocky starter.
Yeah, that's the problem. You get into like a series like this where you should pretty much the math would tell you should sweep. The Rockies have only won like 30 games the whole season. I think that's a slight exaggeration, but
no,
look,
it's literally 30.
Terrible.
30
yeah,
games.
Right. But you just hope that it's not one of those. Well, what did they lose the series when they went to Denver a couple weeks ago? They did. Yep. Yeah. So there you go. Anything is possible. But look, it was fun to see, the Cardinals play well. That game on Saturday, we can forget about that. But Friday night and last night with the national TV audience was awesome. The soccer team win and even scored some goals over the weekend, Frank.
Yeah, really, I think their best win of the season. Nashville's really good. They're one of the top teams in the MLS. It was their first win in 27 days, but they got up 3-0 on a really good team. And, I tell you what, this David Critchley, I'm not for certain if he listens to Tony Robbins, but in the middle of all these losses and just all these ties, he's just the most positive guy ever. I hope they give him a long look to become the head coach. So he's really, he's been good. He's been good as a head coach.
Frank, we will talk on Friday afternoon. Hopefully the Cardinals will have closed that gap in the wild card just a little bit more.
Thanks, Frank.
But take care.
We'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've got a jam up north, and the problem is an accident on eastbound 270 at Riverview, and they at one point had all lanes blocked. We've got a parking lot jam that goes back through 367. So if you are traveling in that area, that's the cause of the problem. Please, again, avoid it. Again, that is on 270 eastbound at Riverview. MoDOT reporting that closure. Now, we've also got the usual volume. So westbound 40, Kings Highway out to McCausland on either side of Lindbergh. There was an accident reported northbound 270 south of 64. Southbound 270 kind of slow in that area as well. And if you're headed into Illinois, we've got road work again, 5570 eastbound at Exchange. That's causing a delay. And road work eastbound 64 has caused a delay from 157 to 159. And then things look better. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. Check out Michael's Flooring Outlet because I experienced great service from Mike and his team last year with a project that we did in my home. But nothing against, as I say, the big box stores. You're not going to get someone who has decades of flooring experience to make recommendations, to say, hey, maybe you don't want to pull out all the carpeting in your basement because you have a great audio system. You may have said that to me at some point. So they're going to get you into the product that's right for your lifestyle. If you have pets, if you have kids, if you need Mohawk silky soft carpeting, they have the best quality. If you need hard flooring from Mohawk or other companies, they can guide you into whatever you might need for your budget and for your lifestyle. And they do it with a great team with 3 awesome locations. They're open every day except for Sunday. So 6 days a week in Old Town St. Peter's. Great location
location in Darting Prairie in West County on Olive. And the website has everything. You can even order samples from the website. IGotFloor.com. Michael's Flooring Outlet. Tell them that I sent you in.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Surprise! Surprise! You know, surprise parties, they can be fun, right? Well, financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired. Like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you think you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions and schedule a retirement double check. Marvin and his team have been helping families plan for retirement for more than 15 years. Call 314-373-1598 to schedule your retirement double check with Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions. That's 314-373-1598. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Give Marvin and the team a call, 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and in Illinois.
Hello, I'm Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malik. August 14th is National Able Savings Day, a time to highlight how able accounts empower individuals with disabilities. Our More Able program helps Missourians save for everyday needs without losing public benefits. To celebrate, we are offering a $25 match for anyone who opens a new account in August. Earnings grow tax-free and contributions qualify for a state tax reduction. Let's help more Missourians build financial independence. Learn more at moable.com.
Paid for by the Missouri State Treasurer's Office.
Michele Tafoya, who now has the Michele Tafoya podcast. For decades, of course, she was on the sidelines of NFL games, NBA games, but now as a podcast up in Minneapolis, she joins us after Fox News.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Shooting at a Texas Target. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. It happened in Austin. Police Chief Lisa Davis says police got a call about a shooting at the store. Were on scene within 4 minutes. The suspect's in custody and 3 people were shot to death.
The suspect fled the scene, stole a car from the scene, took that car, wrecked that car, then hijacked another car. He was then found by Austin PD in South Austin, where he was taken into custody after a tasing.
Chief Davis says the suspect's a 32-year-old white man who has a history of mental health issues, but says the investigation is in the very early stages. The man who attacked the CDC headquarters in Atlanta on Friday fired more than 180 shots and broke 150 windows. That's according to the Associated Press. Police say a man who blamed the COVID vaccine for making him depressed and suicidal was responsible for the shooting, which claimed the life of a DeKalb County police officer. No one at the CDC was hurt. D.C.'s mayor wants a meeting with the attorney general following President Trump's announcement of a federal takeover of the district's police department.
President Trump's declaration of a public emergency in Washington, D.C. and the temporary federal takeover of the city's police department is unsettling and unprecedented, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says.
I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
The mayor concedes violent crime spiked in 2023, but
we work quickly to put laws in place and tactics that got violent offenders off our streets and gave our police officers more tools.
Those moves, Bowser says, are reversing crime trends, saying Washington, D.C. is at a 30-year low for violent crime.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. America's listening to Fox News.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You want to see basketball played the way it's supposed to be? Tune in to Ice Cube's Big Three this summer. Watch stars like Dwight Howard, Kemba Walker, Joe Johnson, Michael Beasley, and many more, along with Hall of Fame coaches. Experience the fast pace and physical play and fun action that defines the game. You know what it is. It's the Big Three. Catch the best professional 3-on-3 players in the world live every weekend on CBS and Vice. Yay, yay!
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
For the middle of August, it's really not too bad outside. Temperatures, they're bearable. Humidity levels also bearable. Mid to upper 80s for evening plans. Partly cloudy and 74 overnight. Tuesday, partly sunny, kind of hot, kind of humid, but again, nothing extreme. We'll look for a couple of scattered thunderstorms, 92. 73 on Tuesday night. Wednesday, partly sunny, couple of storms, and 90. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I still have a bunch of different audio to get to here this afternoon. Some of that might go in our audio cut of the day segment. So, Sue, this morning, my wife has become very interested in the news cycle ever since last year in the election. She didn't use, I'm not saying she never paid any attention, but like when I walk in and let's say that I'm in another part of the house, maybe watching a show that she doesn't watch or something along those lines, she's got Gutfeld on and she's watching Fox and she's sending me tweets and things like that are potential, stories for the show. And a lot of them are more politically active than she used to be, but she's gotten a little worked up about stuff, maybe in a positive way. It's just so funny because I get to a point where I come home, I'm like, I got to turn Fox on. I've been monitoring all day. I don't want to hear this. I'd rather watch baseball or something like that. So she sends me this tweet. She was up late, and it's the first thing I see this morning. And it says, trending, multiple Minnesota Vikings fans have announced that they're canceling their season tickets because the team has a male cheerleader this season. Minnesota is among the first teams to include a male cheerleader on their dance squad promoting gender equality. So it's not like, I don't think it's like a trans cheerleader, but it's a man, but he's going to be dancing like the women. We thought that amongst other topics, Michele Tafoya might be able to help us with that this afternoon. She, of course, used to cover the NFL, the NBA, the Olympics, and a lot of other sports. She now has a podcast, the Michele Tafoya Podcast. How are you this afternoon? Welcome back, Michele. Hope all is well.
Everything's great. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that your wife is getting more interested. It's such a fascinating time to be alive.
Yeah, and I think maybe some of this, and you can maybe say this with a lot of women, you can trace it back to the pandemic and, the mama bears and what was going on with school. I think there are a lot of women that are more interested in getting more engaged. So, and she was never someone that, didn't pay any attention, but she's certainly paying more attention. And here's what happens. And Sue, you know me, so you'll get this. I'll come home after doing this, and talking about it. And I know all the topics, hopefully. And I talk to people like you. And then she wants me to kind of give her my take on all this stuff at night. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that right now. I want to watch the Cardinals or something like that.
Right.
You got to listen to the podcast, my podcast. I'll point you to the segment on the show, and then you can explain it. Because she's asking me about the, one thing that's come up here. And it's kind of hard for people, I think, to get their arms around all this stuff with the redistricting in Texas. And we're doing some of that here in Missouri as well. And that's for even people that pay attention, that stuff gets kind of confusing.
Yeah, it does. I think that first of all, the word gerrymander.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's such a silly word that you go, what the hell are they talking about gerrymandering? What does this mean? So yeah, I find that complicated too, but this is such a ridiculous fight that they're all having because both sides do it. And,
Yeah.
But getting back to the Vikings cheerleaders.
Yes, please do.
So, I left the NFL early 2022, right after the Super Bowl. And even before then, the LA Rams had male cheerleaders. And, this is different. This isn't the rah-rah guys on the college sidelines who are throwing the girls in the air. These are guys who are dancing along with the teams. And I remember the Rams had at least one. Now they have 4 or 5, the LA Rams. Okay. So, yes, Minnesota has 2. I don't know why they're only focusing on the one whose name is Blaze, but there are 2.
His name is Blaze. I know. That's
his name is Blaze. Yeah. So here's the thing. I think that I've talked to some people around this knowing I was going to come on with you, and there's always that bluster of, oh, I'm giving up my season tickets. Yeah. Never again. They lose they don't get to the Super Bowl. Oh, I hate the Vikings. They let me down again. I'm dropping my season tickets. It's kind of, it's that bluster. But I do think that a lot of men, they don't mind that there are men on the cheerleading squad, but I don't think they like seeing them dance like women.
Right.
And that's really what's going on here. That's just a guess on my part. So look, whatever. It's Minnesota, and we are here in Minnesota. We are very left of center. So there you have it.
I would say, going a little further, I'm not even a big NFL cheerleader type person. I guess I get it a little bit more with collegiate sports, but I've never quite understood the and I guess it's halftime and during the breaks and everything like that. But the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders set the standard, and then everyone, I don't even think the Packers have cheerleaders. They used to use the University of Green Bay cheerleaders.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, some teams don't even have them.
Right.
But I doubt that many people will actually cancel tickets for the Vikings.
No,
right?
I mean, you know what? If you don't like it, don't watch the cheerleaders, or pick out one that you do like or 2 and watch them, and just don't watch the others. Yeah, I think this is a lot of faux outrage.
But what's not faux outrage, it's what's happened to so many women across this country. And you and I have talked about this Title IX issue and Riley Gaines and some of her heroism and other things that have gone on. I know that maybe even in the latest edition of your podcast, you speak with someone by the name of Amy Sousa, who is an expert on this gender ideology. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Look, I still sit sometimes and take a deep breath and go, how is this going on? Gender, first of all, the term sex assigned at birth, there's some person in the delivery room and says, I hereby assign you. Yeah, no, you're born with a penis or you're born with a vagina.
Yes.
Sorry if that's offensive to you. And for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, that is how we've differentiated male from female, along with chromosomes, etc. So this notion that you can, look, if you want to dress whatever, I really don't care. But the problem is reaching young kids now, and that's what bothers me, because we're talking about kids who are 12, 11, 10. I read this psychologist in San Francisco, so that it makes a lot of sense. She said kids know before they're 2 if they're trans, and here's how. If a little 2-year-old girl has barrettes in her hair and she goes to pull them out, it's probably because she wants to be a boy. And if a boy is wearing a onesie and he unsnaps it so that it just hangs loose, it's probably because he wants to be a girl. I mean, are you kidding me? This stuff is it's just crazy, right? It's bizarre. And when you start pushing this in schools and confusing kids, it really ticks me off. And our guest, Dr. Sousa, was very good about this. I encourage people to listen because she really hit it on the head. This is it's insanity.
I'm still waiting. My daughter knows a lot more than I give her credit for. And, she pays attention. And I have a situation where the news is on quite a bit in the morning before. Well, now she's not going to school. I expressed my absolute joy that they're going back to school a week from today, Michelle. I cannot wait to get part of my life back. But there are things that happen in the news cycle related to this that I'm actually a little surprised that she hasn't asked me about. But to your point, it is trickling down. And, I use this example of what happened up there in Minnesota, because we have a young girl who is a bit of a mentor to my daughter, who's a softball player. She's a junior in high school now. And, her team, they knew what was going on with that pitcher, and all these other kids from across the country were dialed into this. They have their opinions. They're more knowledgeable, I think, than we give them credit for at this time.
Yeah.
But, let me offer this as an example too. It's interesting. Over the weekend, there was a story, I think it was yesterday, in the Washington Post. And the headline was, a family opened a town's first bookstore. A bathroom bill is driving them away. Okay. And it talked about this couple that were in Vermillion, South Dakota. and Mike Phelan is the guy's name, and they have a trans daughter, so a biological boy who is now a female, and they're moving out of North Dakota. And this gut-wrenching story talks about all these terrible things because of this bathroom bill, etc. And and I read the whole story, okay, and I can understand the human aspects of this, where the father and the mother, they went to the school board to let their daughter use the the girls' bathroom, and they had set up some rules within the school district, but then there was a state law that was introduced, and they're like, we're leaving. The problem that I have with the story in the Washington Post is I don't ever, and I mean ever, remember opening a story in the Washington Post or the New York Times or the St. Louis Post-Dispatch where they talk about, Paula Scanlon or Riley Gaines or some of these other women that were affected and had to change in locker rooms. So you get these compelling, heart-wrenching stories about these trans kids who are just victims. And I understand there's some of these kids are probably going through tough times. I think some of them are gay and they just don't know they're gay.
Yeah.
But there's never the other side, the flip side of the equation, where the women who are not being, who are probably represented, certainly I think these young girls are represented by a majority of the country. And it's those stories that get the headlines in the Sunday edition in the Washington Post.
It's listen, if there's any more proof necessary that the mainstream media anyway leans heavily to the left, that's your example. And it continues and continues and continues. And even though Jeff Bezos has said, hey, we're going to make the Post a little bit more, we're going to have conservative voices. And even though Barry Weiss left the New York Times and the New York Times said, boy, did we underestimate conservatives in this country, we're going to try to get back in touch. They don't. It's as simple as that. The media is left leaning. And so, where there are youth, and I'm sure they're confused and it's painful for the family. First of all, I think there are some really simple solutions to this bathroom stuff. Not always easy, but simple. A girls' locker room should be for girls, period, the end. But if you have bathrooms at schools, you can make them, don't make them boys or girls. Single stalls, anyone can go in and then have sort of a community washing place or whatever. It's pretty simple. I was just in Europe and I noticed at a lot of public restrooms, they had men and women and then, sort of generic. And you can do that and then nobody really has to worry. But I do agree with you. You never hear about the women who are traumatized by this in some cases or affected in other ways. So it's very one-sided and it's designed for a very specific purpose.
Well, you saw what happened. Did you hear any of the reaction or see or watch any of the reaction to Mayor Pete last week? So you have these potential presidential candidates. Gavin Newsom went out there a little bit, tried to say that the fairness issue was legitimate. He got blowback for that. So he's, I think been keeping his mouth shut on that topic. Then you have Mayor Pete that, even admits, because I still don't understand how the parents, for example, in the story in the Washington Post or other activists can't at the very least say, okay, we understand why a biological boy on the pitcher's mound on a high school team in Minnesota who is dominating the competition. Okay, well, we can see how that's a fairness issue. But Mayor Pete admits that it's a fairness issue and the alphabet mafia goes nuts on him. He's no longer welcome just because he admits that the fairness issue is real.
Again, this is craziness. And you saw Rahm Emanuel, who I believe is running for president in the next, And he was on with Megyn Kelly and she asked him point blank, can a boy become a girl? Can a man become a woman? And all this. And he gave very succinct answers that the left wasn't going to like. And he said, now I've got to go into hiding after giving you those answers. I mean, I think it's a very narrow percentage of the left, but they are loud and they will scream and they will beat you up and they will come after you. They are militant about this. And I'm telling you, I think it's going to continue to hurt Democrats. If you can't talk honestly about the fairness issue and all these, we got to do more studies. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because from the beginning of time, we've known this. That's why we have men's and women's divisions to begin with. Because women can't compete with men and men overpower women. And someone is going to say, but there are some, more feminine men who deserve to compete against. No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Should
I'm
not
sorry.
be that hard. Yep,
it's not
exactly.
that tough.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned Rahm Emanuel because I've been talking about him for a couple of months because what I hear, he's definitely running. He's trying to get that center lane. The issue for Rahm Emanuel, I mean, as someone who does not want the Democrats to succeed in national elections, I almost hope he doesn't have any leeway here where he can, gain momentum because he is more common sense and he's where the majority of Americans and the majority of Democrats are on that issue. But we know how primaries work, right? You get in a primary with guys like Mamdani and AOC and whoever else might be on the list, Gavin Newsom. Well, he won't survive in that group. He might be able to, this is where it gets tough for Republicans as well. You might be able to win a general election, but you can't get out of that primary because of your positions on the trans issues or something like that.
And remember when the question was asked at the last Democrat primary, raise your hand if you support, I think it was Medicare for illegal immigrants or something like that. And they all raised their hands.
Yeah.
And it was like, even if you didn't believe that, you were
had to raise your hand.
You had to raise your hand.
Exactly.
And so those kind of traps are going to be laid. There's no question about it.
Hey, I watched an uncomfortable amount of preseason football here in the last 5 days because I'm so starved for the NFL. I love it so much. I'm watching Quarterback on Netflix. I'm watching Hard Knocks on Max. I love the NFL. But they have this new deal with ESPN, and I don't really know what the hell is going on there because I left DirecTV a couple years ago when they finally gave the package to YouTube TV. Amazon was in the running for a while. I switched to YouTube TV. I could not be more happy. I believe I was charged for my NFL package last week because I saw the credit card, receipt come in. But what's the deal that's going on right now with ESPN and the NFL?
I wish I knew more about it, but it really is interesting that the NFL has taken a 10% stake in ESPN. That's not huge, right? That's a minority stake. And ESPN in return gets to run the NFL network. The problem that I have with this now, look, every network has a relationship. Every network that carries the games, whether it's Amazon, NBC, CBS, Fox, they all have relationships with the NFL. And those relationships can tie your hands on some things, journalistically and otherwise. But now, when you have the NFL having an ownership stake in ESPN, as small as it is, what is that going to do to ESPN's coverage? Can they continue to be very journalistic about stuff in the NFL if one of your owners says, hey, let's go easy on that story because it's given us a bad look? So that's the issue that I see as being more pronounced. Other than that, I don't know how it's going to work, but it surely puts them in bed more closely together than, say, an NBC or a CBS or a Fox.
So I have to ask you about the smelling salts issue because I was watching one of the games, I think on Thursday night. I'm looking at the scroll and I'm like, the smelling salts, I don't even know what the hell the thing was about. And then the Wall Street Journal has a piece about this and how I guess there is a deal that they arranged where these players can use the smelling salts if they need to, but the NFL is not going to provide them. Now, you were on the sidelines for NFL games hundreds of times. One thing that jumped out to me, Michelle, in the story that the Wall Street Journal did is George Kittle, the legendary tight end for the San Francisco 49ers and a really funny guy who was featured in Receiver on Netflix last year. I love his personality. He says he uses smelling salts before every drive. So he's not just using them because he got a little banged up and maybe he was a little dizzy. He uses them before every drive. Is that very common? I guess it is.
I think it is. I can remember very early in my career, and I was covering the Vikings. I was doing the Vikings sideline for the local broadcast. And I would see, before the defense went out on the field, you'd see these guys inhaling the smelling salts and all the empty packets just lying on the sidelines. And I remember thinking, wow, I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, look, if it's legal, it's legal, and they're going to do it. And it's a little bit crazy. I did not see that Wall Street Journal piece. I've been away, but this is not uncommon at all.
Well, that was what was so, Kittle says, I've been distraught all day. We've got to figure out a middle ground here. And when he said that he uses them before every drive, that was, now I think he's still going to be able to do that. He just has to provide his own smelling salts, but
I think he can afford them.
Yeah, no, I know he can, but I guess the reason the NFL didn't want to put their stamp of approval is there's some scientific evidence that is a little questionable if it, in fact, we know how much they're concerned about concussions now in the protocol, but if the smelling salts can overcome
a decision on whether a player should be in there because of a potential, concussion. Well, that's a real issue.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that is an issue. Look, they're gonna cross every T and dot every I on this concussion issue. And so if there's even a question about that, then I could see them saying, we're no longer going to provide these. But listen, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I did cover the NFL for 30 years and I saw a lot of concussions. And we've seen a major decrease in concussions. We're never going to get to zero, ever. There's no helmet that can prevent a concussion. You can maybe minimize it a little bit, but you cannot prevent concussions. So if they're looking for every possible way to take any question out of, are we helping promote these head injuries with the game, they're going to do it. Yeah. And if this is one way to cover themselves, they're going to do it.
Michele Tafoya, always great to have you on. Check out the latest podcast with Dr. Sousa on the gender ideology. I think that'll be a good one to check out. We'll talk soon. Thank you, Michele.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume out there, but the good news is they have cleared that accident eastbound 270 at Riverview. We had both lanes closed for a while and a parking lot jam behind it back past 367. It's still a slow go up there, but they're reporting that it has been cleared. Now, westbound 70 slowing at Jennings Station Road, and then it opens up. 64, moderate volume, Kings Highway out past McCausland, eastbound slowing at the inner belt. And southbound 170 is pretty slow at 64. Now southbound 270 slow approaching Olive down through Ladue Road. Northbound slowing from Doherty Ferry up through Ladue Road. And westbound 64, some moderate volume right there at 270 and a little bit here and there to the west, but it's not that bad. And if you're headed into Illinois, there is some slow-moving traffic because 5570 eastbound at Exchange, there is road work. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, baths, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Triton Exteriors. Not sure if you've noticed, but the storms seem to be especially bad this spring. If you had James Hardy Smart Siding, you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's not going to be damaged like in the 314-day storm. So we do roofing, siding, gutters, fences. We're always going to be the middle bid. We're never going to cut corners. We're never going to take advantage of you. Call 314-717-1159 or triton-stl.com. Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at biobalancehealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. Biobalancehealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
here's a perfect example of the differences between me and Sue Thomas, because she just goes to our vending area and you were getting a little snack, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those honor system deals where you scan the item and then you put your debit card or your credit card up there, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying that when you just tried to do this,
I scanned the barcode of the peanuts
Uh-huh.
and it said, we do not recognize it. So I scanned it multiple times. No. I tried a different packet. No. So I left.
without the peanuts.
Right.
So the difference would be I left with the peanuts because I've done that. I've had a couple of times where I've tried to use it to pay, to use my debit card. And I'm like, I'm just taking the food. I mean, I'm fully willing to tell the guy who comes and restocks the vending machine that I've done it and that I owe him $1.50. Actually, $1.50. We'd be getting off easy. None of those things are $1.50, are they?
No.
That's the other thing about that stuff. Like, it is. Let me get off on a tangent here about pricing, because it is stunning to me still. I know inflation has tapered off a little bit. How much things have just gone crazy expensive. So there's these little protein drinks, Core Power drinks. Have you ever seen those?
I have.
They're pretty good. So because I haven't been eating as much as I probably should for a variety of reasons, some health related, I feel like I have to get the protein. So I went into the QT a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm going to get 2 of those core proteins, because I like them, like the 42 grams of protein. Do you know how much they are individually?
No idea.
At the QT? Take a stab.
$3.
I saw one today. Where was I this morning? I was somewhere and I saw them, and they were in a machine. Oh, no, I was at Walgreens this morning. Okay, so I'm at Walgreens picking up a prescription, and they had a little refrigerated case where they had those Core Powers.
Okay.
At Walgreens, they were selling them for $4.35. At the QT, they were $6. And I was dumb enough I didn't know the price until I paid for it, but I made the decision to not do that again. But I'm telling you, even in our little vending machine here, something that would have been $1.50, $2 for a little pack of peanuts or something like that, it's like $3.50 or $4.
You pay for convenience. I think that's how they get you.
Well, you do, but man, some of it is still kind of head shaking. You're like, are you kidding me? $6 for just one of those things? And I guess people like me are paying. Hey, have you heard this whole thing about the dad disciplining his son with push-ups and squats?
No.
Okay, so there's a mom. I'm going to do this quickly. This might be a good one we do with Alex Rich on Wednesday, but let me kind of break it down here. There's a mom named Katie. I think the last names are out of this. And she is about to do write an email, and she's working at home. And her son says, and they're making breakfast at the same time, and her son wants to use her phone. And mom's saying, no, you need to wait. So the kid, who I think is 9 years old, says, Mom, you need to chill. And the dad, Dustin, says, did you really just tell your mom to chill? And then tells the kid to get down and start doing push-ups. So this was caught on video. They videoed it.
Stop. Where's your phone? Baby. Stop, I said. Okay, chill.
Did you just tell your mom to come right here?
Ready?
Put your jacket to her like push-ups.
How many?
Push-ups.
Okay. How many?
Count them.
2, 3.
He's doing push-ups.
Squats. Count them.
Now he's doing squats.
Each squat. Over there. Do we tell our mom to chill out?
No.
Absolutely not. I will not let you talk to me.
So this has gone viral because people think that he did something wrong here. Here's a further explanation.
So apparently me enforcing a physical consequence without losing it or smacking my kid is some hot commodity. And there's a bunch of questions about that. Just to be honest, all I was doing was he talked inappropriately to my girl, and I wouldn't let that slide for anybody. So I addressed it in a stern, immediate way, but I don't need to hit my kid for him to understand he messed up.
Well, you don't need to scream and yell and belittle them for them to know that they done messed up.
So they responded because this thing went viral, and there's millions of people. Now, the one thing I would say about this is that whole exchange was caught on audio and video, right? I'm always a little suspicious about that because there's things that get caught. Maybe there was a security camera or something like that. But was that unacceptable parenting? I thought it was pretty good parenting. I would have said something like, damn it, Alexa, stop doing that. I'm going to take your iPad away. And then I wouldn't have taken the iPad away. So I thought that was pretty good
Yeah.
parenting there. But
Well-
you should see the internet
Going
reaction
nuts.
going nuts.
How would that a video have gotten out?
Well, I think they
unless
posted
they
it.
why
I
would
think they well
uh-huh.
that's what I mean.
See?
You see these things on TikTok and Instagram, and I always question them because they seem like they're setups, and you start thinking about it. Why would you be recording this? But I don't know that independently. I just know that they're getting hammered because of a parenting style that seems relatively acceptable to me, right?
Right.
Peder Zane coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good grief. Okay, now on the roads, there's an accident on the Illinois side, 5564 eastbound at 70, causing delays. Now, westbound 64 on the Missouri side, slowing approaching Hampton out through McCausland. Moderate volume at 270 and a little bit here and there, but nothing terrible west of there. 70 slowing at Jennings Station Road. And again, that's just moderate volume. Now, southbound 270 is jammed. It's mainly south of Olive down through 64. Northbound is slow in that area. Also on the Illinois side, some volume eastbound on 64, just past 157. That, I believe, is due to road work. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Point Pest Control is reminding you it's time to spray for mosquitoes. How can something that tiny interrupt your outside gatherings? Have Point Pest Control spray today so your next outside gathering is mosquito-free. 636-798-0023. Mention Annie to save an additional 10%. PointPestControl.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
There's been a lot of talk about tariffs, how it's going to do this and it's going to destroy the economy. Prices are going to go up. Depending where you get your news from or your information from, it's going to make everything unaffordable and so on and so forth. Tariffs have absolutely zero effect on the heating and cooling equipment that we purchase. So don't be misled and fooled that if you're told that you have to buy something now because of tariffs, call me. That's the nicest thing I can say. Call me for a second opinion. Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. There's only one. If you do not dial this number, it will be the wrong number. It is area code 314-293-2600. Again, easiest number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600, or on the computer, bartinman.com. Remember, 0% financing is available for most up to 60 months. Fantastic.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, when I was gone here the last few weeks, Scott Jennings secured a radio show. And I told you the story about how I used to listen to Scott when he was on WHAS barely out of high school. When I worked in Milwaukee, I could pick up their signal from Louisville. And he's become such a rock star, Sue, that he has his own radio show on Salem. That's only an hour.
Wow.
We're going to pick it up, though, here on 97.1. We're going to air it at 8 o'clock in the evening, starting 2 weeks from today. And Mr. Jennings, the legend that he's become, will join us tomorrow afternoon at 3:18 to talk all about that and to get caught up. You know, one of the things that we never shared, and I think I might have him share this tomorrow, is when he was in Israel. Remember when he was there about 6 weeks ago? And it was at the time when the bombs started falling and air raid sirens are going off and everything. The way that he got out of Israel is a fascinating story. It really is. And he told me off the air, and I've never pressed him. He'll tell it on the air, but it's like, it could be an entire chapter in a book, and he's writing a book, but it's pretty amazing story. So we'll get to that with Jennings tomorrow. I still have an audio cut of the day coming up. Peder Zane is back with us, an editor at Real Clear Investigations. He writes for Real Clear Politics. Peter, how are you? Welcome back.
I'm well, thank you, and I hope you had a nice time off.
Well, it wasn't the best time off, some health complications, but I'm doing okay, trying to get back on the horse right now. No, that's okay. You wouldn't have any way of knowing that. But you know what? I loved your column, because here's something that happens to me. When you wrote in your more recent column about Trump, my Democrat friends cannot fathom why I am not repulsed by Trump, a longtime philanderer and convicted sexual abuser who urged his followers, to march on the Capitol on January 6th, and who is supposedly corrupting the government while profiting from his office is in unseemly ways. I'm a mystery to them. They feel sorry for me. Now, I experience a lot of this with friends as well. People know I do a radio show, so they know I'm a little bit more vocal on this. People know that you're a political guy as well. But the thing that I go back to is, if you go back to the first term or when he was running, I was repulsed by Trump. There were things that he was doing. Even now, I don't like a lot of the behavior. But when he said the media is the enemy of the people, I really thought that was stupid. I thought we need a thriving media in our democracy, which is now being threatened by Trump, of course. Well, then I saw scandal after scandal that was a bunch of BS. I saw the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. We know what happened with COVID. You outlined some of this in your column. So for me, and I think maybe for you, part of the reason that I'm not repulsed is because the other side is never, ever repulsed, or they never question any of the stuff and the misinformation and the crap that their side hurls on a regular basis. So it's frustrating. I have a listener right now, Peter, who wants to send me, they asked for my email address, and I gave it to him. And this was someone that came through on a voicemail, and I had noticed that they hadn't sent me anything. And I circled back with them and I said, hey, did you ever send anything? Because I didn't want to miss it. And they said, no, I just haven't figured out how to craft the words. It's about your support of Trump. So now I'm very curious about that. But the column really related, because why this is almost like the trans issue, where people can't see the fairness issue and say, hey, wait a second here. This is not fair. No matter what you might think about, treating people kind and how people might be different, it's not fair to have biological boys compete against biological girls. In this particular case, it's a little similar to that, where all these things that Trump may have done or was accused of doing or might still do, it's all eclipsed because of Trump. It doesn't matter what happens to Obama. It doesn't matter what Obama might have done. It doesn't matter what Eric Holder might have done, because Trump is the big bad orange guy. And that continues to this day.
I wrote the column. In some ways, it's a completely useless exercise, what I did, because, the fact is that we are living in a world where the other side just continues to perpetrate terrible crimes against democracy. And they are a clear and present danger. What I was trying to point out, just to take a step back, is, that requires us on the other side to, in some ways, be almost as bad as they are. Not exactly, but the principles that we have about what America ought to be, who ought to be leading it, what we should expect from those people. We, I think understandably put that aside because we're engaged in a battle with other people who are worse. But what I wanted to say is, we shouldn't forget to take a step back and go, geez, this is kind of disheartening who we have running this country. And if we just get caught up in the battle between the two sides, we forget sometimes, and again, I don't know what you do about it, but just to remind ourselves, I'm really compromising on a lot of my values because this is the horse I'm riding, and I get it, and I'm riding that horse, and that horse does a lot of good things. But, it makes me forgive, and I would say especially with things like how much money he's making, especially in cryptocurrency, and bringing people like that to the White House. I mean, if you were upset about Joe Biden, even there, maybe it's not quite as bad because it's not directly related to policy, but there's a lot of really sort of unsavory things that he does that we look past because they are worse, the other side.
And one of the reasons, and I guess I would use the redistricting issue right now, and this gets tough for me because I like to call balls and strikes, and I don't mind criticizing Trump. I was very critical of him in the first administration, more so than in the second administration, because I think the lesson I learned is all the hyperventilating sometimes is a bunch of crap and BS. And then when things settle down, I'll even use this year as an example. You and I maybe had conversations back in March and April about tariffs and people predicting a recession and this and that. And now we're into August. The stock market is back where it was. The tariff situation, which I'm still not completely comfortable with, has certainly settled down. So I give him a lot of leeway because I don't trust that legacy media at all. And I mean, I don't trust them at all. But on the redistricting stuff, we're doing some of this here in Missouri. I'm not completely comfortable with it because I don't think we should be redrawing congressional lines every 2 years. Texas has their own issue. I get there's politics in play here because of the narrow majority. So to your point, maybe I'm compromising some of my principles, but then I look at J.B. Pritzker in Illinois or Kathy Hochul or Gavin Newsom and what they've done, and they've taken their power and they've used it and tried to, embolden their party. So then you kind of get to our side and say, all right, well, maybe we do have to get down and dirty because politics is a dirty game.
I said that in my column, and I said that, to act according to the better angels of your nature can rightly be seen as a form of unilateral disarmament. But I've written so many pieces where I'm pointing the finger at the other side that at some point I just said, I've got to acknowledge
Fair enough.
that we have lost our way to some extent too. Not exactly. So, and I agree with you on the redistricting. I live in North Carolina, and I used to write a column for the local Raleigh paper here, and they were all up in arms about gerrymandering back in 2013, 14, 15. But I made the point then, which was so obvious, that our congressional delegation is part of a national Congress. And yes, I don't want the Republicans in North Carolina gerrymandering, but what do you do when they've done it in Maryland and California and New Jersey? I mean, so you get sucked into that game. And if you don't do it, then I agree, it is unilateral disarmament. And then they get in power and they're awful people.
Yeah,
and I mean,
I played a soundbite from James Carville where he's basically saying, look, if we get in 28, and I'm sure that they're already thinking about this. If the Democrats have the trifecta in 28, and they could have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, he's saying, look, we got to make Puerto Rico a state, we got to make DC a state to embolden the Democrat numbers. So they're already thinking, expand the court. That's another thing he mentioned is expand the Supreme Court. All these things that are very dangerous for the actual dangers to democracy when we're talking about this other stuff that probably isn't. But I get it because a lot of it is nuanced. But for me, where I kind of come down on most of these issues, Peter, is I do not trust the media. I do not trust the legacy media at all.
They are unbelievably dishonest. And I can tell you at Real Clear Investigations, where I'm also edit articles, we've done a lot on the Russiagate material that's come out. Paul Sperry and Aaron Mattei are two of our reporters on it. And it is amazing to see what actually has been released and what it means, and then to read the New York Times and the Washington Post, and they just lie. It's literally, they just lie about it. And it's so intentional. And they're actually, what's interesting is they're so good at it, the way they craft language to almost seem like they aren't lying to anybody who doesn't really know the story. So, yeah, they've gone from being biased to, especially when it comes to politics, they're so compromised that they have to keep lying or they would reveal all their other lies. In other words, they painted themselves in a corner that I don't know how they get out of, because they can't just go, oh, we were wrong, because it's been shown they've been wrong for years, and then it bleeds over into everything else. And the other thing is that they do it with impunity. So, we look at it and go, geez, how are they getting away with it? Well, they are. Obama is a hero. Hillary Clinton is a hero. These people aren't held to account for any of this stuff. They get Pulitzer Prizes. Angela Davis just got an honorary degree from Cambridge University. Angela Davis, who provided guns to people who robbed banks.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
It's mind numbing. But a lot of it does go back to the legacy media. I'm very interested in Paul Sperry. You mentioned that reporting, because I'd love to give that type of reporting a little attention on this show. So we might ask for a little help there, but it's always great to have you on, Peder Zane.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hope your week goes well.
Always a pleasure.
All right.
And
Take
good
care.
luck with everything.
Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, let's see. We've got a stall reported westbound 70 approaching Lucas and Hunt, but it sounds like it's off on the shoulder, so not causing a major delay. In fact, where we do have a delay is the Illinois side. There's an accident reported on 64 just a little bit west of 111, and traffic is just jammed there in both directions. Also, eastbound 64 slow between 157 and 159, all due to road work. Now, on the Missouri side, southbound 270, moderate volume headed for Ladue Road. Northbound 270, a little slow in that area. But westbound 70 is great out of downtown. And 64, just some moderate volume west of 94. And then it looks a lot better. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door, simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than at Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
A Midwestern mom from Edwardsville, Illinois, rooted in faith, grounded in family. Annie Fry brings common sense and conviction to the conversation. The Annie Fry Show, weekdays at noon on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. A question I get all the time is, how did we become the largest injury firm in the world? We have over 1,000 lawyers in all 50 states and close to 6,000 coworkers. Our call center is on duty 24/7. You can reach us at any time at forthepeople.com. But the real reason is we won a lot. When you visit our website, go to our verdicts and settlements. There you will see what our clients were offered and what they were awarded at trial. All those verdicts help us resolve many cases fairly and early. You see, nothing beats reputation. The insurance industry knows who we are. We even have insurance adjusters call us for representation because they know too. We've made it easy. On your mobile device or computer, go to forthepeople.com and we will get busy. It's that easy. Call today. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's summertime and that heat can play havoc on your plants and trees in your yard. Mark Cox here from my friends at Hanson's Tree Service. Give them a call. They will send a certified arborist to your yard to set up a plant healthcare strategy. They can help you with trees that might have a bug problem or a disease. Plus, they can deliver mulch directly to your driveway in most cases. Just go online to hansonstree.com or call them at 636-379-1830.
Cardinals fans, FanDuel Sports Network is your home of the Cardinals.
That ball was mashed.
And there are more ways to watch this season.
Holy cow!
Subscribe directly to FanDuel Sports Network to stream the Cardinals without blackouts.
How about that play?
Or watch through a TV provider.
Incredible!
Including DirecTV, Spectrum, Xfinity, Fubo, and more.
He got it!
Learn more at cardinals.com/TV.
Ball game! That couldn't have worked out any better for the Cardinals.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast.
Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, Scott Jennings will kick off the show tomorrow, 3:18, and we kind of hinted toward this. He's got a new radio show. It's going to air between 8 and 9 o'clock here on 97.1 FM Talk, starting 2 weeks from tonight. The audio cut of the day is a little involved, so I want to start it here.
Stand by. Playback ready. Now, the audio cut of the day.
Sue, I am not familiar with this person that I'm about to play. Her name is Jennifer Welch. She's described as a former Bravo TV star, and she has a podcast called I've Had It. And this has gone a little viral, and I want to front load the comments here and then offer something at the back end here that I think is important, because she's offering advice to restaurateurs, if you will. And she thinks that people who support Donald Trump, because of their position on immigration, should not have the right to go into Chinese restaurants or Mexican restaurants or things like that.
I've had it with white people that triple trumped. Yeah. That have the nerve and the audacity to walk into a Mexican restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, an Indian restaurant, go to perhaps their gay hairdresser. I don't think you should be able to enjoy anything but Cracker Barrel. Get your fat ass over to Cracker Barrel.
I mean, I don't even know where to start on this, but let me say this, because we've talked about it in terms of Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and we've introduced the audience to Hank Lena, who is an amazing story, who moved here from New Zealand. He appreciated the freedoms and the opportunity that this country gave to him as a foreigner. He went through the right process to become an American citizen. Last week, I don't know if you saw this. This was just the other day. Nearly 1,000 immigrants celebrated naturalization in Chicago at Wrigley Field. I think it happened when the Cubs were here. 977 people from 109 different countries sworn in as U.S. citizens in Wrigley Field. Dick Durbin was there. You had all these people.
It's moving.
We love that. We love that. Those are the people that did it the right way. I'd like to think that the purveyors of the Mexican restaurants and the Chinese restaurants that I go to, no matter what the nationality, that they're here legally. Now, are some of them not here legally? Maybe so. But there's a big difference that is undistinguishable or indistinguishable with that person, Jennifer Welch, and others, between legal, letting millions, literally millions and millions, 12 million people in 1 year across, or maybe not in 1 year, but certainly in 4 years during the Biden administration across the border. And people who went through the process, did the hard work, want to become Americans because they love this country. So that is such a confusing soundbite to me.
Well, she's also nuts. And
well, there is that.
All we're doing, you mean you don't want the business to help immigrant whether it's legal or illegal, you don't want us to help businesses?
What she did there, because that's, some people don't think you can be racist against white people. That sounded a little racist toward white people, didn't it? There you go. There's your audio cut of the day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got a major delay on the Illinois side, and it's because of an accident westbound 64 near Kings Highway. And I'll tell you what, Brad Range just sent me a photo of an EGADS. Okay, westbound 64 is completely closed at Kings Highway. It's a very serious accident, and traffic is jammed behind it. Right now, it's back past 255. Eastbound drivers are slowing for a look. That is by far the worst of it right now. Things look fine if you're headed into Illinois on the bridges downtown. Westbound 70 is in good shape, even 64. We've just got some volume 270 in both directions right at Ladue Road, and that's it. This report brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tired of aging skin? Infinite Vitality reverses collagen loss, tightens with Morpheus and microneedling, and fades age spots. Look naturally young.